20 in the derby over the Giants.
Ready for some new adventures? Back Roads is back. From the macho mining town of Tom Price in WA to outback Queensland and Tasmania's Cradle Mountain, join me, Heather Hewitt, and some of my fellow guest explorers for a journey to some of this country's most remote towns, full of surprising and memorable characters.
All new Back Roads. New adventures Monday nights on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView.
ABC Sport. AFL.
Oh, you wouldn't believe it! Future is now! The impossible angle! Sensational goal!
And that's what brings fans through the gate.
Roll up, it's time for the show. Forget everything that you know. You ain't seen nothing like this. It's impossible to resist.
Season 2022, the fans are back. The colour and soundtrack of our great game. Let's go.
You ain't seen nothing like this.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Surely he can't from here. Gives it everything. Yes, he can.
Turns, whacks it straight through the middle.
Jumps it on the right, kicks another.
A burst of pace, and he finished it.
How much do you want it? How much do you need it? How much do you want this? We're gonna be kings.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
From 50, good kick. The MCG are up.
AFL.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
The pain of finals past will be the theme for these two clubs as they run into a clean slate as they try and reach the Holy Grail in 2022. It's Brisbane against Port Adelaide at the Gabba as we continue opening round here on ABC Sport. My name is Quentin Hull. You're in Brisbane for two clubs that have been so close yet so far in recent seasons. Can they get as close again? Can they go all the way? Well, it all starts tonight here on a pristine Saturday night. A Port Adelaide team in its 10th year under Ken Hinkley, having been to the top two the past two seasons, having had grand final qualifiers at home for the past two seasons, only to fail to get a ticket to the final game of the season. And then Fagan's boys. Top four for 3 years in a row, 6 finals played, and only one win to show for it. The Lions and the Power expected to be at the pointy end of the debate in season 2022, and it all starts here. Fantastic that you could join us after Geelong and Sydney posted victories earlier today. Great that Michael Price is back to join me in the broadcast box to call the action for a new season at a Gabba which looks in its finest dress this evening. What a beautiful scene for the first night of footy in Brisbane for the year. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Q. And have a listen to that as the crowd just starts to fizz. Cam Rayner's face has just appeared on the big screen, and you just saw the excitement and heard the excitement that that's going to engender with the Brisbane fans. I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. The young man, I've seen him outside, and he just looks like he could probably have to hold him back with a couple of chains to keep him off the field at the moment. He is ready to go. A
few storylines individually, of course, that we will touch on throughout the evening. Our experts, AFLW Premiership player Lauren Arnell, welcome once again to you. How are you? Ready for 2022?
Great, thank you, Q, and awesome to join you guys again for another season of AFL. So excited to watch these two teams battle it out. I know the Lions have had the wood over Port, won the last 4 games against Port Adelaide, but we know how good both sides are, and with Cam Rayner back, Finn Layson added to the Port Adelaide team, and a debutant father-son, which I'm sure our next expert will be able to discuss better than myself. It's an exciting time to watch some great footy, and can't wait.
And a well-travelled man in football, but most notably known for his role as captain and coach at this footy club. Matthew Primus, it is a pleasure to have you on board tonight and again for the season. And haven't we been blessed the last couple of years? One of the great footy rivalries of 20 years ago was Port versus Brisbane. Port need to win one to make it a decent rivalry because they've lost their last 4 against the Lions. How are you?
I'm going well, thanks, Q and Lauren. Great to be here. 20 years. You make me feel old then, Q. Didn't realise that long ago. But, yeah, it is great to see these two teams renewing that rivalry. And as you said, Brisbane have had the wood over them. Last year when they played here, they comfortably had the wood over them. So two teams that play similar kind of styles, but Brisbane have been able to flex their muscles a lot stronger than what Port have over the last couple of years. So interesting to see how a few little tactics go. And round one up at the Gabba, beautiful night for football. Looking forward to a cracking game.
No changes to the selected teams, with Harry Sharp, the sub for Brisbane, and Stephen Motlop, the sub for Port Adelaide. I feel a little not unlucky because we've got a great seat, but Jess Stewart's got a better seat because we can't open the windows here. And Jess is on the opposite side of the ground. Great to have you on board for 2022 as well, Jess, right next to the boundary. I can sense the atmosphere. I can feel it. What's it like out there?
Oh, I can tell you it's building, Q, and as you mentioned, they did give a big cheer for Cam Rayner as he came up on the screen. Beautiful night for footy here in Queensland. About 27,000 we're hearing through in the stands tonight. 24 degrees, 60% humidity after what felt like a really warm day today, so you can't ask for better conditions. Clear radar, so let's hope we get a nice, fast, high-scoring game here on the Gabba.
Matt, I'm going to start with you in Port Adelaide because this team is in a very similar position to what your team experienced before the breakthrough in 2004. You'd had the minor premierships and you'd had mistakes in finals campaigns not to get to the grand final. This team is almost experiencing exactly what your team did 17, 18 years ago.
Yeah, look, it is similar. You do a lot of hard work, and then especially last year, getting a home prelim against the Bulldogs, who look like they're on the road and travelling, and a brutal game against Brisbane to knock them out of the finals, and then they just didn't turn up for that prelim final. So, yeah, it is similar, and I suppose the first thing, rather than look towards finals again, you actually got to climb that wall or that mountain again to get back to finals. And a challenge here to see if they have improved is knocking your team off that's going to be looking for a top four spot too. So I think the things you're looking for, or can be looking for, okay, we can't keep doing the same thing. So a bit like what Brisbane has spoken about, there's going to be young guys coming through the middle of the ground. So instead of relying on Boak and Wines and the same old doing the job for you, we need to get speed, youth in there. They definitely played that in the pre-season. He's spoken that heavily. Very similar to what Brisbane are going to do through their midfield. Anything in that summer leading into the 04 season that stuck in your mind that Mark Williams said about this is how close we are, but we need to reset? It's a long time ago, as I mentioned before. But what I remember is we just realised that, hey, when I'm playing back in my time, it wasn't a Warren Treadway's not going to win us the game in the finals. He's going to win us enough games in home and away season, but one player, two players, three players, our collective 22, and that might sound boring, but when you actually believe that everybody in your team has got to play a role for you to win, and sometimes it's not your night, but play a role, you get the job done. And we actually believe that in 04, instead of thinking two or three players will take us to the end and win us a grand final. And I reckon that's the only difference between the Richmonds and Melbournes the last couple of years is against these teams. Their team ethos was a little bit better than these two. And Lauren, I'll ask you that question about Brisbane. You can talk about the narrow margins, the heartbreak of the loss to the Giants when Daniels kicked the goal back in 19, the 1 point margin against the Bulldogs here last year. Forget all that. It's 1 from 6. But they've got to get there to earn the right to improve it.
And I think if you asked anyone internally at the footy club, they'd probably say with everything and all the setbacks of last year, particularly key injuries to key players, it's possible, despite on the finals wins and losses, it may not seem on raw data that they progressed, but I think most people internally would say that there has been progression despite the semi-final loss last year. And you add Cam Rayner to that, Noah Answorth comes back, Lachie Neale's much fitter this year. Cal Archie, I think, is going to play a bit higher up the ground, and Darcy Fort to help out Oscar McInerney in the ruck, I think, will add another element to the Lions this year.
Lots of individual stories. I think we're all looking forward to seeing just how Cam Rayner comes back after a year off, because he is a number one draft pick formerly. But how does Jeremy Finlayson turn this potent Port Adelaide forward line into an even better one? And I think we've been robbed a little of just what role he's going to play tonight, because two of their best three goal kickers from last year aren't here, Dixon and Fantasia. So does he have to be the one tonight? Well, I think they do like to have that focal point in Charlie to bang it on his head, but it's a bit one-dimensional, and I reckon Finlayson gives them a bit more of an athletic, kind of moving, taller guy in their forward line, but tonight he might have to play a bit of a different role with Charlie out. But I think that's why they would have got him, a guy who can run around the ground, jump in the air, really good on the ground, compared to what Charlie is, just a monumental target to kick to. I tell you what, Wednesday night was good when you've got a grand final rematch to start the season. But across a salivating block of fixtures in opening round, this surely is Act 2 of the top of the charts, with these two teams having been so close over the last couple of years. I hope you can enjoy Brisbane and Port Adelaide with us from the Gabba. Michael Price for the opening bounce.
Tom Jonas won the toss. Port Adelaide kicking to the right of your radio dial. Lysett gets it down to Wines immediately. To Bonner, tackled off the ball. It's loose. Neal, handball back to Bailey. Hooks it around on the left foot, bounces it to centre half forward. It's cut off there by Jonas, gives the handball away. It's intercepted by McStay, gives it over to Charlie Cameron. He handballs it inside the 50, but errantly it's picked up by Darcy Byrne-Jones. Gets it onto the right foot, scrubs it out towards the boundary line. Comes off the hands of Marshall, and it'll be a throw-in at right half forward for the Brisbane Lions.
And among all those things that we spoke about to get us excited, we've got the most recent Brownlow medalists playing as well. Lachie Neale of 2 years ago and Ollie Wines of last year. Throw in at right half forward for Brisbane. Whistle in the ruck contest. It's going to Lysett, with McInerney getting over the shoulder of the former Eagles premiership player. Hand passes to Bonner, who's going to kick from left half back towards half forward. Marshall the target. Spoil made by Adams of Brisbane. Roved by Starcevic. Kicks a grubber around the boundary line, which gains 20 metres for his team. And we'll see a boundary throw in on that outer side. Repeating in Sydney, just one goal for the Bud. He's up to 9-9-6, but Sydney won by 20 points. 17-10-1-12 to 13-14-92 after the Cats were 10-goal plus victors over Essendon earlier today. Throw in true centre wing on the outer side. Lysett to the front, taps down for Port. Ground level, followed up by Amon. Hand pass out the back. Too slick for Butters, but picked up by Bonner. He'll chip around the boundary line, and the veteran Boak takes the mark just forward of the southern wing.
Had a cracking season last year, did Travis Boak. Absolutely amazing player. It's a long right foot kick inside 50. Adams just pushed his opponent off in Butters too easily. Took the mark, read it well. Twice the size of Butters. Handball off now to Daniel Rich. Measures the left foot kick to Charlie Cameron, who's come a long way back down inside defensive 50. He takes it. Wants to look back inboard and then go back across to the outer side of the ground. Adams takes it, plays on, kicks it forward looking for Berry.
Berry had the ball run beyond him, so he's got to track it to the boundary line, can't keep it in. The kick was errant. Amon was there tracking, but no real chance for Jared Berry to bring the footy back into the field of play. So yet again, out on that southern side, no score as yet. We've travelled 2.5 minutes in pristine Saturday night conditions at the Gabba. McInerney to the front this time. Tapped down, but roved by Boat. Gives to Wines by hand and out the back. Port's got it. Gray's under pressure. Hand pass to Butters. Got one in the back. No, up says play on. Stolen by the Lions. Berry hands to Zorko. Zorko hands to McCluggage. From the centre of the ground. Kicks to Darcy Fort, who marks on his chest in his first touch as a Brisbane Lion. 20 out directly in front.
Well, Hugh McCluggage played the role of high half forward at the back of the stoppage perfectly there. Applied the pressure to Port Adelaide mids coming out. Linked up and received the last handball, and a perfect kick to the advantage of Darcy Fort.
Did not get a senior game last year. Only 8 in his time at Cardinia Park. He has been all around the football universe. But here now as a line at the Gabba, Darcy Fort from 20 metres out kicks Brisbane's first goal of the season. And they get around the new line to celebrate. What a way to welcome him to the club.
Well, you look at Darcy Fort coming out of the square, Matt, I wasn't quite sure that's where they'd play him from, but if you know that perhaps the ruck change is going to come Fort and McInerney out of the square, and you add the height of Joe Danaher and Dan McStay as well, that's a fair bit of aerial power in your forward line.
It's a lot of aerial power, and they obviously get their runners, their taller runners up the field, and play Darcy, and obviously the big O will go down, plonk himself in the cage when he rests.
Jess Stewart on the boundary.
We saw about a half of it during the scratch matches during the pre-season, but Dane Zorko has gone to centre half back. He did have that ankle surgery, so it'll be interesting to see how he's going. A bit of positional move there for the Lions skipper.
That will be interesting. Also saw on the replay there Zach Butters getting absolutely cleaned up and dusted himself off. He's back up and ready to go. Back into the middle of the Gabba. Lysett versus McInerney. McInerney gets it down. It's with Rayner. Tries to bust a tackle. Got the handball away. Wines his handball affected. It lands back to Rayner. He gets the ball knocked out of his hand as a contested effort inside the centre square. Now it's hacked forward for Port Adelaide. Harris Andrews has got a lot of problems. He's got 2 to beat. Ball spills away from him and Zorko. Comes to Marcus Adams, kicks out wide, and he finds Berry. Berry's got a leader on down the wing, honours that lead. It's Charlie Cameron, meets it at full flight in front of the Lions bench.
Robbie Gray is a little sore getting up from that previous contest at half forward for Port. As our eyes are cast to Cameron out on the southern wing. High kick for Brisbane to half forward. Big pack. Aliir tries to thump it. Doesn't really time his knuckle. Bounces for Powell Pepper though. He's wrapped up. Got a hand pass away. Stolen by McCluggage, who's immediately tackled by Amon. And it's a neutral. We'll see a ball up. Left half back for Port Adelaide. Right half forward for Brisbane, who are attacking the school end in this first term, leading by a goal to nothing. Tapped out the back of the pack. Berry for Brisbane with the clearance. Hands it to Neil near the boundary. Right to tackle. Hand pass infield. Rayner tried to kick it out of the air. Missed it. Got a hand pass to Bailey. Flipped it over his head. It was a throw from Zach Bailey. So a free kick is going to Carl Amon at left half back for Port Adelaide.
Well, 45 kick dangerous. He found Houston, who had Archie on his hammer. So he's right on the point of the centre square at left half back for Port Adelaide. Another 20-metre pass. Finds Burton, the former Hawk. Gives the handball away to the run of Amon. Gives it to Lycett on the logo. Now back to Amon. The left foot pass is a sizzler. Good spoiling effort there. Comes from Darcy Gardner. Got the ball away from Georgiadis. Over the boundary line, we'll get a throw in where Jess Stewart is.
Robbie Gray getting assessed right knee. They're doing some testing on those ligaments, so I'll keep you posted on that one, but he looks to be in a bit of pain.
Didn't look good when he went down, Jess. So concern early for the Port superstar. He was third in their the 3-time best and fairest winner, I should say, among his amazing career. Throwing on the outer side. Drew hits a pack hard. Robertson hits him hard. Wraps him up. Makes a tackle. Mitch Robbo. He's been gaming all summer. Now he gets into the real stuff. The physical gaming. Ball tossed up. Ruckman tangle. No free kick. Roved by Amon of Port. Rush kick to half forward for the power. Starcevic at the front of the pack. Whistle on play. Free kick Port Adelaide. And it's Sam Powell Pepper manhandled in that pack. And he'll get a chance. No, he dishes off. He was not going to go for goal. And then Houston's kick is smothered. Ricochet back to the middle of the ground. Jones runs through. Had it, lost it. Berry stole it. Gave it up. Burn Jones of Port. Tumbles it from the centre of the ground to full forward. Knuckled to the back of the pack and has scored it over the boundary line next to the point post by Andrews for a throw-in, Matt Primus.
A couple of matchups. Bailey playing on ball v Wines. Wouldn't say it's a hard tag, but you'd think they'd be trying to negate his contested ball and then run off Ollie Wines through the middle of the ground. And Burton's playing on Cameron and pushing pretty high up the ground. So I reckon Port will be happy with that matchup so far.
Lions by a goal. Ball in Port Adelaide's forward 50. From the ruck, Finlayson can't pick it up. The ball spills. Now it's with Lockie Neal. Threads his way through traffic. Gives the handball out to Gardner. Now to Archie at right half back. Long kick down the wing. McStay did beautiful bodywork to get away from his opponent and drop the mark. Aliir, he got it back to Darcy Byrne-Jones. He's tackled in the ground. Ball stuck with him. Lions appealing for holding the ball. The umpire's going to acknowledge that and say yes. Free kick to Brisbane on the outer wing on the Stanley Street side of the ground, and they'll go into attack.
When we get a moment, where is Joe Danaher playing at the moment?
Joe Danaher's been dragging Aliir back, and so he's been playing very heavily deep forward to take Aliir out of that intercept marking spot. Currently trying to float higher on Link McCarthy.
Good on you, Lauren Arnell, with the expert thoughts as Brisbane switch across half back. Adams at centre half back all the way out to Andrews at left half back. Harris Andrews. Nothing's wrong with him, so they told us. And then in the pre-season, oh yeah, he had a knee injury. Never trust a football club. Believe what you see. I think that's been one of the themes of the week. Andrews kicks to half forward, looking for Rich, All-Australian last year. He got a push in the back. And Dan Rich, the 2021 All-Australian, is going to take the free kick just forward of the wing for Brisbane. Kicks the Lions into attack and a huge pack. There he is, Joe. Flying, couldn't mark. Aliir pinches the crumb. Hands it out the back to Byrne-Jones. Port out of defence. Good kick to half back and marked by Houston in front of Rich.
Yeah, he's got a nice set of hands as Houston displayed there in front of Daniel Rich. He's looking into the middle of the ground. Good vision, looking for Georgiadis on the lead. Starcevic is on his hammer. The ball bar ball went past both of them. Al Pepper. Now, under the new rule, that's a 360 and should be a free kick. Nothing doing. The ball goes inside 50. Bounces in front of Powell Pepper again. He can't pick it up. Answorth could. Handball out to Adams, who's been prominent early. It's a wobbler to the wing. It's going to work out. No, it's a contested effort on the logo. Aaliyah picks it up. Gives the handball away. Eamon with a standing start. Quite slow. Had more time than he utilised. Kicked it out of bounds on the full. Marcus Adams will take the free kick and just Stewart's on the boundary.
Robbie Gray tried to run through that knee and he's gone straight down to the rooms after the run through, so clearly not quite content with it yet.
Huge news early on, thanks Jess. Noah Answorth marks at right half back. Good to see him back in senior footy for the first time in a long time. Kicks across defensive 50. Berry marks, overkicks Rich on the wing and straight into the lap of Burton for the power. Kicks to the wing and Jackson Mead, father-son, pick up, finally playing his first game of senior footy, takes the mark, chips it to Houston, 60 out. Houston's kick to the pocket and Gardner just gives Finlayson a bit of a nudge. Oh, and that's a free kick. Jeremy Finlayson is going to be the recipient of that free kick, hard on the boundary in the right forward pocket. And the ex-Giant has got his chance to kick the opening score of the night for Port. Preferred side for his left foot bender in the right forward pocket. If he gets it right, it could be such a valuable acquisition. Highly skilled player, but on this occasion not enough bend on it from Finlayson. Across the face, first score of the night for the power. Lions have got a goal. Port's got a point. We've played 11 minutes.
Been really evident Brisbane's pressure on Port Adelaide when they're handballing the ball, looking for an outlet kick. They've just given them no time and space, hence their inside 50s have been really dirty so far.
And Daniel Rich, with all the time in the world, he just strolled out of the goal square. Little chip into the right back pocket. Finds Kalachi. And plays on now. It's going to be a long kick towards the Stanley Street wing. Darcy Forth gets front position, takes a really strong mark, albeit against a smaller opponent. Now he spots a teammate, kicks long towards Cockatoo at right half forward. Good spoiling effort, and Butters comes away with the ball. He's corralled. Gets the handball back to Byrne-Jones, and he retreats inside defensive 50 to find Jonas. Jonas comes across goal with a 40-metre kick to Aaliyah. Now they've traversed the field at right half back. It's going to come to... That's a reasonably ordinary kick from Finlayson. He had the time in the world. He was looking for Powell Pepper running towards the Vulture Street wing, and he miskicked it. It's a throw-in.
As Matt said, that pressure that the Lions are applying to Port Adelaide's disposal. Harris Andrews came up to the Lions half-forward line to stand the mark.
Pretty tight one early on here. Port inside 56 times to Brisbane's 3. Lions a goal, Port a point. Throw in on the wing, whistle at the contest, and there's a hold going which way? It's going to Drew of Port Adelaide. Everyone was looking around at the ump, saying who's got the free kick? Willem Drew it is. From halfway, kicks Port Adelaide to attacking 50. Gardner leaves his man, takes an uncontested mark for the Lions on defensive 50.
Yeah, Powell Pepper just watched his man run up there, and that's about 3 or 4 times that Brisbane have been outnumbered the drop of the ball when Port go inside 50.
Lions by 5 with 12 and a half gone in the first quarter. That kick from Darcy Gardner headed towards Mitch Robinson, but Drew floated across and belted it into the 10th row. It's be another throw in between wing and right half forward for the Port Adelaide side. They're trailing by 5 points. There's a bit of a murmur around the Gabba. It's a tight-ish start. From the throw-in, comes off hands. Kicked by Duursma, long one inside 50. There's a big pack, there's a whistle on play, there's a hold, and you can tell by the reaction of the crowd it will go to Brisbane. Looks like Darcy Gardner will be the recipient in the left back pocket.
Just 9 games last year, Darcy Gardner, combination of shoulder and groin injuries, such a reliable defender, hoping to get through a full season. From the left back pocket, kicks high to the wing. Aaliyah puts a knuckle to it. That's roved by Robinson of Brisbane. Left foot tumbling kick to the half forward flank. Danaher one-on-one there with McKenzie. The Sharon beats both of them over the boundary line for a throw in 60 from Brisbane's goal.
A couple of stats in Port Adelaide's favour. 8 inside 50s to 3 and 5 free kicks to 3. Still unable to get that first goal on the board.
The ball tossed in at left half forward for Brisbane, attacking the school end. Fort to the front, palms down. Duursma's underneath, tackled by Berry. Ump lets them play, spills out Brisbane's way. McCluggage hand pass at the back to Robinson. From 60, kicks to full forward, but Jonas is in the way, and the reliable defender, in his 3rd year as sole captain for the Power, takes the mark just forward of the goal square.
It was good play again from Mackenzie just to keep the other bodies out of the way there and give his teammate a chance, but that was a pretty ordinary kick. Darcy Ford, who's starting his Brisbane career quite well, has taken the mark. He's 70 from goal at left half forward. Now it's a long kick into the pocket. He's looking for Danaher. It was Jonas who filled the hole and stood there bravely and took the ball over the boundary line. We'll get a throw in, 40 out.
Yeah, Brisbane's marking in their back 50 has looked really strong. I know Porter down a few tools. They've got Marshall there and Finlayson, but when they've bombed the ball, Brisbane look pretty sure in the air at the moment.
The throw in the ruckman, Danaher versus Finlayson. Danaher grabs it out of the ruck, then smothered by Finlayson. The ball goes into the hands of McCluggage, tackled by Wines and held up. Be another ball up, 45 out.
That's Michael Price. I'm Quentin Hull, Lauren Arnell, Matt Primus and Jess Stewart with you at the Gabba. From the stoppage, Lions clearance out the back. Jared Berry with a hand pass to Ainsworth. Snap from 55 to the goal mouth. It's fisted to ground level. Chance in the pocket for plenty. McCluggage is there. So's Robinson, who nails Dersma high. Might be in trouble for that match. And this cues the first wrestle of the season at the Gabba. There's about 7 or 8 players around this. Clumsy at best from the veteran Mitch Robinson.
It's amusing. Tom Jonas just fell over Darcy Byrne-Jones. They play for the same team.
Xavier Dersma is up and okay, which is good news.
Geez, Loz, you had a look on your face. That doesn't look good for Mitch Robinson there.
On form, Mitch Robinson will not be going to Docklands next week, I would think.
My concern at the moment is Dersma's actually still there as if he's taken the kick. I think with what looks like a neck or head injury initially, I would like to see him actually get checked out.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's okay from the pocket and kicks it towards Wines near the boundary. Couldn't mark. Lions roves for Brisbane. Hands it back to attacking 50. Robinson meets it. Hand pass is turned over. Stolen by Byrne-Jones of Port at right half back. He's kicked to the wing and Adams takes the mark for the Lions. Switches quickly to the centre of the ground and Rich has got space. Marks in the bullseye. Booms the left boot to the pocket. Looking for McCarthy. Flew, couldn't mark and gave away a free kick to his teammate, I think. Anyway, advantage taken as Bonner strolls the half back for Port.
Has a couple of bounces, strolls outside the 50 and sizzles a ball. That's a great pass and finds Butters sliding on his knees just short of the logo on centre wing out of side. Nice little pass back to the corridor. He finds Houston. Houston now out to the Vulture Street wing onto the opposite logo. Darcy Byrne-Jones chips it onto the run of Dersma, who's recovered, chips that forward. And Finlayson, just barely the distance too. He's 65 from goal at right half forward. That's another one barely the distance. It hits Houston. He's 55 out, 45-degree angle. Every member of the Lions team in front of him inside defensive 50. He tries to poke a pass into the corner, into the pocket, and it was a good leap from Georgiadis. Has it been paid inside the field of play? No, it's going to be a throw in the right forward pocket. Loz.
Oh, just to go back to Dersma, he's still grabbing it around his collarbone and neck area. If it's in your forward line, now's the time to make that rotation.
Ball tossed in the right forward pocket for Port. Goal to Brisbane, a point to the Power. Fort taps down at the front of the pack. Berry has to play tackler to lock it up. And we'll see it again. Now, just to give a bit more description, Dersma had taken possession. Robinson took his eyes off the football and decided to make contact. And that's essentially why we think he might be in a bit of strife. As from another stoppage in the forward line for Port, it's going to be a Brisbane free kick. Jared Berry was under that pack. He's another Brisbane player, didn't play heaps of footy last year, just the 11 games. And very important for the Lions. He chips it short to Andrews. Andrews kicks out to right half back where Rich marks but still inside defensive 50. 18 minutes played, 6 points to 1, a goal to a point.
Jared Berry with 7 possessions and 3 tackles, very important ones, as Daniel Rich chips it forward. Make that 8 possessions for Jared Berry. It's an ordinary kick though. He kicks it up to the wing. Charlie Cameron makes it look good. Picks it up, gives a handball to Rayner. Back to Cameron on the logo. Nice one too. It's a wobbly kick though. Got a little bit of pressure and it's out of bounds on the full at right half forward. Jess Stewart's down there.
Robbie Gray's back up after being in the rooms for about 10 minutes. He's got strapping on his right knee, doing some run-throughs. Still doesn't quite look 100%.
Good on you, Jess. Robbie Gray immortalised at this ground during the strange old 2020 season. Turnover from the kick in from Port. Bailey's got it for Brisbane, runs to 40, has a shot and kicks it across the face. That was just a muck-up with the kick in from Burton. And Zach Bailey usually nails those, but he's kicked it behind to make it a goal the diff at 1-1 to 1 point.
So they'll bring it back in Port Adelaide. Vern Jones in the right back pocket. He's got a runner and finds him in Dersma, just outside defensive 50, right against the boundary line. Joe Danaher standing the mark. It's a little chip across the line. Didn't go the required distance. It went to Bonner. Umpire said play on. Bonner kicks it down the line. Fist of Harris Andrews. What's that going to do? Brings it to the boundary line. That's what Harris Andrews does. It's going to be a throw in front of the ABC commentary box.
Just see Jackson Mead there. How close were you to his dad, Matty?
Yeah, he was one of the original Magpie guys that got listed when we first came in the competition, won a BNF, and I think it's the first father and son from a Port Power perspective to play in the AFL.
Thrown on the wing, Wines gets it out the back, hands it to Dersma. Shins his kick into the middle of the ground, ball on the deck, attacked by Bonner, had it and lost it. McCluggage tries to clean up for Brisbane, farms it out by hand to McInerney. His hand pass misses the target, swooping on Butters from 70, bounces twice to 50, then kicks to the pocket. He's got a man all on his lonesome in Marshall, who takes the mark. It's Georgiadis who takes the mark in the pocket. And there's another Port player coming from the field. That's Butters, who's been in the wars early on. Or is he going for the rotation? Well, Dersma's going off as well. I think Dersma's the one that's hurt. Georgiadis hits the wrong side of the footy. He has missed the goal face by 30 metres in the opposite pocket. Did that go out in the fall? No, just not.
Deliberate?
You couldn't deliberately do that, could you?
Wow.
Ball deep and attack still for Port. We'll just watch this passage of play before Jess getting worked over with the Port bench at the moment. Bailey wins the clearance for Brisbane, kicks them out of defence to the middle of the ground. But, I thought Burton was going to get onto it. It's a free kick. Lincoln McCarthy got unfairly dealt with there. Hands it off to Bailey from the bullseye chips to half forward. Cockatoo marks a kick and a half from goal. Straight down the bullseye. Charlie Cameron, the target, flew. Couldn't take the mark. Got a nail to it. And close to the goal line. Fort is tackled over the boundary line by Houston. Jess, you're keeping busy down there.
Yeah, it's working overtime here. Dersma definitely getting attention on that left collarbone or shoulder, as you mentioned. So I'll keep you posted on that one. But he looks to be in quite a fair bit of discomfort.
He doesn't look happy on the bench there. Thanks, Jess. Throw in. Inside 50 for the Brisbane Lions. Roving at Rayner. Gets a total ball. Has he done the right thing? It's touched off the boot. Even though it was accurate. One behind. 1-2-8 the Lions. One straight behind in Port. 22 gone to the first term.
We've seen a couple of sort of really seesawing games throughout. Really big games at the start of the round. This one's pretty tight early on. As long kick in towards the wing in a pack. Wines underneath, tackled by Neil. The two Brownlow medalists tangle. Ball comes out. McCluggage had a go, got tackled. Hot footy to win here. Now Bailey's a chance for Brisbane. Gets it to his boot, kicks it from the wing, high inside 50. McCarthy to the drop. Got a hand, couldn't mark, nudged off it by Burn Jones. Jonas hands it back to Burn Jones. Port with the crumb and the exit. Kick towards half back, picked up by Wines. Kicked it down the members' wing, but well read by Starcevic. Takes the grab for the Lions forward of left half back.
Oh, it's a dangerous kick. He's looking to get it inside the corridor. Robbie Gray read it well. Handball to Boak. Boak's got a target inside 50 and Finlayson missed him. Finlayson went to pick it up, bounced off his knees over the boundary line, and that's going to be paid as deliberate.
Oh. Is it? Oh, shot of Kenny on the big screen.
No, sorry. Yeah, that's been paid as deliberate. He actually...
Or out in the full, was it?
It's below the knee, so perhaps the umpire signalled that it was the arm towards the boundary line, so it's been paid as a deliberate out of bounds when it bounced underneath his knee. Anyway, the Lions come across to the Vulture Street side of the ground. Zach Bailey at left half back. The game's looking for something at the moment. It's a tight arm wrestle. And Zach Bailey has nearly kicked it to me in the grandstand. It'll be a free kick to Port Adelaide. They'll kick it to right half forward. Good mark from Georgiadis.
55 out at right half forward is Mitch Georgiadis. Decides to just set it on top of the goal square. Gardner reads it for Brisbane, makes the spoil, but Gray is there, wins the ball, got slung in the tackle near the point post. It's over. And we'll see it thrown in.
They look like they're really struggling. Yeah, Marshall's not working hard as at all, not giving them any options. So even when they go long, every time Brisbane look like they're either going to mark the ball or crumb the ball and run the ball out of Port's forward 50 with ease at the moment.
Matt Primus with you on Grandstand AFL. Throwing in the right forward pocket for Port Adelaide. Brisbane 1-2, Port 1 behind. McInerney taps down, but it's roved by Boak. He swivels and snaps the first goal of the season for Port from 20 metres out. Oh, yes. The old stager sharking the opposition ruckman's tap in the goal mouth, and Travis Boak knows the way to the big sticks from there. Port's first, it's a point the diff. 1-2 to 1-1 in favour of the locals, Lauren Arnell.
Well, Matty, ages like a fine wine, doesn't he? Travis Boak. I think he's had 6 disposals and now that goal, which is crucial for Port Adelaide. They've worked so hard for a late goal in this first quarter.
Yeah, they've just had a lot of slow entries. They haven't been able to play fast. It's probably credit to Brisbane's pressure up the field, and because they've played slow inside 50, Brisbane are able to get numbers back. Port aren't getting numbers in to equalise, and they've been able to run the ball out with ease. But as you say, their really only opportunity to score was just from a forward stoppage. You're not going to win too many games if you're relying on that as your score source. It's
one of the stats that's probably not going to be remembered when your teammate wins the Brownlow, but he'd had 25 Brownlow votes last year, Travis Boak. The problem was Ollie Wine's got 36.
Amazing year he did.
We're back into the middle. Lycett double hands it down to Powell Pepper, who can't pick it up. Jared Lyons for the Lions, gets it, kicks it inside 50. Charlie Cameron, ground level. This is where he excels. Oh, it was nice work there from Butters, who did a big slide in and extracted the ball. It's going to land back with Danaher. Well, there's been a free kick there, and it's been pulled aside. You can tell by the reaction. It goes to Port Adelaide.
Yeah, they've had about 25 minutes of, isn't it good to be back at the Gabba, the Lions fans. Now they're just going back into old mode.
Yeah, anybody in fluoro yellow is the enemy. So it's a nice kick there from Burton. Kicks it long down the line. That was a nice spoil from Mead on Lockie Neal. Took it over the boundary line, just short of centre wing out of side.
There's another opportunity, though. I think Marshall still was too far from the kick. It's going to be a long down the line. He's the only tall target there, but he's just too far off, and he's lucky Mead was able to convince the spoil there.
26.5 first term, low scoring first quarter here. Lycett taps back boundary side. Boak's closest, but boundary's closer. Out of play, back to Jess on the boundary.
Xavier Dersma's now gone down to the change rooms. Looks like he took his jersey off, so potentially a strapping or something going on there, but he's definitely struggling with that shoulder or collarbone on the left side.
As Lauren Arnell picked up after that collision with Mitch Robinson, which will probably get looked at further. Throw in right half forward for Brisbane. Fort the tap. Who's a rover? Lyons for Brisbane. From 60, rushes a kick to full forward. 2-on-2 contest, ball to ground level. Archie first to meet it for Brisbane. Tackled, but got a hand pass to Berry. He's 50 out. Chips it to full forward. McStay nudged off the ball by Jonas, who palms it to the boundary line. Great defending from the Port skipper. Out of play. Geez, a reliable player.
He called a great thank you. He actually bumped him, but then as he went to bump, he looked at the ball to make sure the umpire couldn't give the double motion of not looking at the ball, and was able to do a really good spoil.
Throw in left forward pocket for the Lions. Fort in front of Lycett. The ball spills. Burton now, it's several players on hands and knees. It's not coming out of there, and the umpire hugs himself. We'll get a ball up in the left forward pocket. Just 1 point the difference. The Lions leading, 27.5 gone of this first term. Umpire throws it up, extracting it. It was McKenzie, and that's a great smother. It went out to Lycett, and there Jared Berry pulled a great smother out. 9 disposals, 3 tackles and a smother so far. Not bad for your first quarter, Jared Berry.
It's tight, isn't it? 12 inside 50s for Port, 11 for Brisbane. Only the 2 goals through 28 minutes of football. Throw in. Brisbane still in attack here. Houston underneath for Port. Got a little hand pass to McKenzie, whose kick into the chopper smothered. Still in the pocket. Powell Pepper is ushered over the boundary line, trying to pick it up, and Cockatoo was there to nudge him over.
Extremely tight. So 15 inside 50s apiece. 12 to 11 now. 15 tackles apiece we've got.
We expect them to be heavyweights in this season, sizing each other up in the first half hour of this new year. Clearance for Port. Boat gets it to his boot. McKenzie, should I say, boots it clear of defensive 50. A free kick going to Brisbane. Answorth takes the advantage, gives it to Zorko. Zorko kicks inside 50, and Jared Lyons marks hard on the boundary at left half forward. The man on the mark, 45 metres from goal. What a pickup, Jared Lyons. Top 3 in the best and fairest for Brisbane last year. He's not going to go for goal. Kicks it to the goal mouth. Jones knuckles it to deck. Neal is there to rove, is tackled by Houston. Crowd thought high, crowd thought wrongly. Holding the ball. Free kick to Houston to Port Adelaide.
No, I can't say I disagree, to be honest with you. He did take him on. It was an awkward tackle.
And we've got the contrasting signs of a minute to go. The Brisbane bench says 60, and the Port bench looks like round one at a fight.
Ding, ding, ding. As Berry gets it over now. Neal, outside of the boot from Bailey, was clever, got it inside 50, in the hands of Fort to Answorth, to Charlie Cameron, who kicks it too low. It was Jones, the mulleted one, who picked it up. Danaher's looking for a free kick. Crowd wanted it as well. Ball spills. Danaher has another snap. It's smothered. It was all happening in the space of 5 metres next to the behind post that the ball eventually hit. The crowd love it. Can't you hear it? It's going to be a throw in right next to the behind post.
We could have been here yesterday at the end of the season. It just sounds exactly the same, the Gabba, doesn't it? When the locals don't like a decision. Half hour gone. Throw in deep in Brisbane's attacking zone. They lead by a point.
Yeah.
Free kick, Lions at the throw in. Who's got it? It's Darcy Fort. So he's already kicked a goal, and this will be a bonus for Brisbane. The siren will sound, you'd think, before Fort sets his sights on goal, and it could be the new big cat from the Cats to the Lions.
Oh, geez, you're a ruckman, Matty Primus. What do you think of that decision of itself?
I would think so, but it was arm over the shoulder, so easy for the umpire to pay it.
Yeah.
8 games at Geelong, no senior games last year. Already got a goal for his new club. How about this to finish the first term as a Lion? Darcy Fort from 20 has 2. And that's quarter time. And Brisbane's lead is 7 points. Fort 2 goals. Rayner and Bailey a point. 2-2. 14 plays Port's 1-1. Boca goal. Finlayson a point. It's the Lions by 7 points after a very tight opening half hour. Earlier today, Geelong 20 goals, 18-138 has defeated Essendon 11-672. And Sydney 17-10-112 beat Greater Western Sydney 13-14-92. Countdown Bud added 1. He's on 9-9-6. Lance Franklin. In the NRL earlier today, Gold Coast beat the Warriors 20 points to 18. Cronulla beat Parramatta 18 points to 6. And the final game of the day is up in Townsville, where North Queensland is playing Canberra. Just started the second half there. The Cowboys 8 leading the Raiders 6. In the Super Rugby earlier today, the Western Force 20 beat the Fijian Drua 18. And currently it's the New South Wales Waratahs taking on the Melbourne Rebels. Half-time Waratahs 14, Rebels 6. And a special shout out to you if you're with us through South Australia and you've found the app or the digital radio to tune in tonight with the state election coverage on local radio. Nice to have you with us. We'll give you updates of Marshall versus Malinauskas as well throughout the evening as well. Why? Because we do everything here on the national broadcaster. Grandstand AFL on ABC Sport.
Did you know that ABC Listen has a little sibling?
Hi.
The ABC Kids Listen app with music to move and podcasts to play. ABC Kids Listen stimulates curiosity, fires imaginations, and fosters good listening skills.
Wow! That's a funny noise.
Discover a world of entertainment that will spark creativity in the minds of your little ones and get them up and moving. Download ABC Kids Listen today, free from your app store.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Stolen by the Lions. Berry hands to Zorko. Zorko hands to McCluggage. From the centre of the ground, kicks to Darcy Fort, who marks on his chest in his first touch as a Brisbane Lion. 20 out directly in front. But here now as a Lion at the Gabba, Darcy Fort from 20 metres out kicks Brisbane's first goal of the season. McInerney taps down, but it's roved by Boat. He swivels and snaps the first goal of the season for Port from 20 metres out. Half hour gone, throw in deep in Brisbane's attacking zone. They lead by a point.
Yeah.
Free kick, Lions at the throw in. Who's got it? It's Darcy Fort. Club, how about this to finish the first term as a Lion? Darcy Fort from 20 has 2. And that's quarter time.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Great to have you with us at the Gabba in Brisbane. My name's Quentin Hull. Brisbane 2-2-14, leading Port 1-1-7. And with all due respect to our great team covering the South Australian state election, there's individual seats to be won and so much to be talked about. But if Anthony Green calls it, you know it's as good as over. Apparently we're heading for a change of government in South Australia with the great ABC analyst Anthony Green calling it for Peter Malinauskas and the ALP. So we'll give you more details as the night unfolds. But if you've thought, well, if Anthony said it, that's good enough, and you've tuned over to the footy, Matty, Lauren, can you tell them what they've missed in the first quarter, please?
I'll tell you one thing they have missed, which is great, how quickly the players have picked up on not giving any backchat to the umpires with poor decisions or what they think is poor decisions. But it's great to see the crowd haven't, because they've been invested in this game straight away. The Brisbane crowd has certainly felt hard done by, and they're probably having a couple of occasions, but a really tight tussle, Lauren. It's both teams, I think as the boys mentioned during the game, the first quarter, a lot of stats even, contested ball, clearances, inside 50s. Not an easy ball out there. Both defences are on top. And a bit of an arm wrestle. Brisbane do look more dangerous when they move the ball, but hasn't hit the scoreboard exactly for them yet. But a tight game for two teams that you're hoping going to be there at the end of the season.
It is an arm wrestle. I couldn't agree with you more. The only difference really in the stats is Porter 40 contested possessions to 33, which really, as the game plays out, we'll see if that gap continues. But
that's been their Achilles heel against Brisbane the last 3 or 4 times they've played them. They've been smacked in that area where they're normally strong at. So that would be one thing I think Ken would be talking to them about. They've done well in the first quarter.
Absolutely, and it's meant that Lions and Neil at 4 possessions is probably low for their standards, but what we do know is that there's some other players getting more involved. Jared Berry with the 10 disposals so far. Burn Jones and Houston dominant for Port Adelaide in terms of winning the footy, and before Dersman went down he had the 6 disposals. So I think that as that plays out, how fit Robbie Gray actually is to play 4 quarters of footy at this level. He looked okay when he came back out, but it took him a long time
to get over that,
to get back. And then, obviously Dersmer on that wing, it could potentially be a game changer as we watch the game unfold.
Well, it definitely was an up and back game. There wasn't many stop plays and many stoppages between the arcs. There was a few at either end in the forward 50, but the ball just flowed back and forth a fair bit with some free kicks and also some ugly turnovers. So fitness-wise, it's going to take a fair bit out of them, and teams that normally come up here early in the year struggle a bit with the humidity and the heat too. So if Port lose a couple on the bench or they're a bit sore, it'll be interesting to see how that takes its toll as the game progresses.
And I think without getting carried away as well, what we do know about this tight contest against 2 good teams is it's not finals-like footy, but the style of footy is it shows that it's 2 of the better teams because it is so tight and contested. But there's been a couple of disposal errors, but that's what it's like when you play 2 good teams. So I think for the standard they're at round 1, you probably can't play a better round 1 game to get into your season.
All settling into the season here. Good on you, Lauren and Matt. Thanks for your text messages. The number to get in touch is 0437 774 774. That's 0437 774 774. Thanks to Henry from Melbourne, Mark from Geelong, getting in touch. Just getting through the first term of footy, so we will get to your messages throughout the call. Now, Jess has got some more news on the boundary before the second term.
Yeah, that's right, Q. Xavier Dersmer's night is over, so Stephen Motlop is currently on the field as the activated Medi-sub.
Dersmer gone, Motlop in after only half an hour. We assume it's shoulder/collarbone from that collision with Mitch Robinson. Lions by 7 points, Michael Price.
We're back into the middle. McInerney gets it out, and it's in the path of Lockneil. He slips over, can't control it. Willem Drew does for Port Adelaide. Gives it back to the run of Ollie Wines. The Brownlow medalist kicks it inside 50. Spoiled. Roving. Houston did well. Right on 50. There's a whistle on play, and it will be a free kick that will go to Houston. Mitch Robinson standing the mark. Now he's right on the 50-metre arc. Houston's going back and basically looking like he's going to have a shot at goal.
He's got the distance in his leg for sure.
Looks confident, Matty Primus, and
watch it pull up short.
He'll let go from right on the point of the centre square, or just in front of it. Launches it nicely. It's just pulled right and short. Harris Andrews fists it forward. It's rove by Drew. Spills in front of the goal square. Danger for Brisbane. It's picked up by Darcy Gardner. Slaps it onto the left boot. Bounces awkwardly for Charlie Cameron. It's picked up by Palpepper. He sizzles one inside 50 to Georgiadis. It's spoiled there. Nice work from Brandon Starcevic. Georgiadis looks like he's in a little bit of pain as he hits the deck. And he gets back up. Ball's over the boundary line. There will be a throw in. It's the elbow he's holding.
I think he caught one on the humerus.
Ooh, not too funny.
No. Ball thrown in the right forward pocket for Port. Clean possession, McInerney of Brisbane. Hacks a handball to Cameron at left half back. Under pressure, hand pass turned over. Burton takes it for Port. He's tackled, put it on his boot. Jones didn't have possession. Rayner slings him. No, did have possession. Holding the ball is the call. I thought you had to be in possession to be caught holding the ball. Anyway, it's a free kick for Cam Rayner. Looking very, very fit. Very short pass to Gardner. Hands it to Zorko off half-back. The Zork kicks to the wing to the leading Danaher. Takes a mark for Brisbane. He's on halfway. All the way out at the Stanley Street side of the ground. Big Joe played every game last year in his first year at Brisbane. He turns over that kick. Stolen by Port Adelaide. Amon off half-back to the wing. Alier for Port. Kicks to the pocket. Over the head of Motlop. The sub injected. He's got two against him. Good luck. When it's Gardner and Andrews as well, and the boundary's close, it's out of play.
Yeah, when that turnover happened, Port didn't have much on. They were already playing quick, and Brisbane had set up with the defence, and in the end, not a bad kick. Go long to the pocket, get Motlop to make a contest, and out of bounds it goes.
And once again, Brisbane defence under pressure. The throw-in is in the right forward pocket for Port. Port trailing by 7 points early doors second quarter. McInerney gets it down to the path of Mitch Robinson. Pushed as he kicks it. It affected that. Now the ball with Houston on the 50. It's a sky ball to the goal square. Parked underneath it and fair catch to Darcy Gardner. Ooh. He plays on. Dangerous. Palpepper cut the ball off from Daniel Rich. Now at ground level, Palpepper did beautifully. Handball to Boak. Danced around two of them, did Boak. Handball back to Palpepper. Has a hook around. Would have been a great goal, but he hooked it too far, one behind. 2-2-14 plays 1-2-8. The Lions by a straight goal with 3 minutes gone to the second term.
Trav Boak. Geez, good to watch. One of these little things you miss about seeing the really good players in the flesh. He was fantastic there. The inbound from Brisbane finds Andrews on D50 at left half back. Andrews long to the wing. Danaher goes to deck. Crowd wants a free kick and will get it. Alier took the mark. And the upset. And Alier's taken too long to throw it back to him. And didn't throw it back to him either. Missed the target. 50-metre penalty against the former Queensland junior representative, Alier.
Just gave the players a pump that they've been a lot better, not reacting to the umpire, and away goes Alier.
Here we go. Man on the mark for Joe's first kick on goal at the Gabba this year. He'll have to launch it from about 50.
Result cue.
What did they say? All four results possible?
Back a goal.
Win, loss, draw, tie.
Back a goal, Q. Come on. Don't sit on the fence. Back Joe for a goal.
The opening act of the Joe Show at the Gabba in 2022. Left boot from 50. Strikes it high. Long left. A point.
Now I know why you didn't.
A point. Brisbane by 7 at 2-3 to 1-2.
So 2-3-15, 1-2.
The beautiful thing, radio can't see Lauren Arnell's wry smile when we're having all that conversation. Come on, Loz.
I was just secretly watching the replay, and I thought Alier was actually quite unlucky to have the free kick against him.
Actually, I thought so too, as Trent McKenzie plays on just from underneath the scoreboard, the cannon. What a left foot that is. Straight to the Vulture Street wing. 50. Now that's going to be 50. Zorko has knocked the ball out of Carl Amon's hands. And the umpire says yes. And, I tell you what, Jared Berry's just given one to Houston on the way down as well. You want to be careful swinging the arms around like that as well. The ball's been promoted to the 45-metre mark. Mitch Robinson will stand the mark, and Carl Amon will have a crack at it, and he'll let go from 50. Slight angle to the left. Port Adelaide would love this. He leans back. And it is straight. Port Adelaide get their second. Back to within a point, 2-3-15 the Lions, 2-2-14 Port Adelaide, 5.5 gone, second term.
Yeah, Zorko just caught at play half back then and just got caught, not quite understanding how to defend, took his eye off the ball. Carl Amon slipped him back on the inside, a beautiful kick by McKenzie, and then, he went to go offline, and Zorko said, that's going to be play on, but before the umpire had called it. So another 50, obviously Brisbane just got one, Danaher didn't take advantage of that, Port took advantage of theirs.
And repeating, Xavier Dersma has been subbed out of the game. Stephen Motlop is out there for Port Adelaide with a suspected shoulder/collarbone injury for the talented 21-year-old. That group of 18, what are they going to do this year? That wonderful draft group, Dersma, Butters, Rosie, look like they're going to have to be better again for Port to be where they want to be.
And Carl Amon's up to 9 disposals in that goal, having a real influence on this game.
Yeah, the 18 draft made their debut in 19, that group indeed. Thanks, Lawrence. Centre bounce, Pal Pepper with the clearance. Hand passes to one of the aforementioned. Butters kicks to half forward. Boat gathers, but too tight to the boundary to create. Out of play.
Yeah, Butters a lot more midfield time this year. Still a slight body when you're still looking at him compared to some of the big brutes in there, but his ability once he gets outside that little tight bubble is pretty good.
The throw in across half forward for Port. Going through Zach Bailey, tackled without it. Umpire says play on. Ball still stuck under several. Butters gets it out. It's towed forward for Port Adelaide. Rich versus Pal Pepper. Pal Pepper wins, but then it's a great tackle by Link McCarthy. Pal Pepper handball now to Burn Jones. Inside 50. Big flying contest. Ball at ground level. Rayner roves it beautifully. Handball to Daniel Rich. Standing start kick, not as accurate as he would have liked. Mitch Robinson. Well, he made the umpire see it, but it was a fair push in the back from Houston. And the crowd enjoyed it as well at right half back. Mitch did the great swan dive.
So Robinson is going to kick it all the way back to full back. It bounces before Andrews gathers on the half volley. Kicks to left half back and finds Adams in space. Marks and kicks to the wing. Bailey's got room to mark and roll on. Beyond the wing. Floating kick to half forward. It's a shocking kick from Bailey for a man of his talent. Jonas can meet it on the bounce and see it out of play. And we'll see a boundary throw in.
It's just that instance where he's probably wanting Danaher to lead up at him, where Danaher's ticking back and creating that more distance. It's a hard kick to hit when you're running at full tilt.
I think Chris Fagan just went from that nice angry uncle mood to a little bit more angry with that one. He didn't look happy at all as the ball spills. Inside forward 50 for Brisbane. Towed forward. Archie couldn't quite grab. Neil. Handball back to Mitch Robinson. Under pressure. The left foot is a skier. And it's out of bounds on the full. Be a free kick to Port Adelaide right back pocket. Aaliyah will take it. And Port trailing by a point.
2-3 to 2-2. But it's a decent tight 2-3 to 2-2. From two pretty handy teams of the last couple of years. As Aaliyah's kick in, though, is turned over. Rich takes an uncontested mark, 60 out, but then just hobbles a little as he took that mark. Probably just beyond Bam Bam's best. He decides to chip it inside 50, misses the leading target of McInerney with Butters getting in the hole. That's a courageous mark for a slight man against the Big O. Chips it beyond defensive 50. Drew has to go low to take the grab. Get thoughts from Matty and Lauren in a moment, but I'm enjoying this low-scoring one because you can see the quality and the pressure in it. Drew's kick to the wing. Adams gets in the way of the target. Marshall. Brisbane mark. His kick to the middle of the ground turned over. Finlayson stole it from Robinson. Hand passes to Houston. Runs to 60. Hands it to the first gamer Mead. He gives it off. Houston on the snap from 40. Kicks the goal for Port. And the Power take the lead at the Gabba. Port Adelaide 3-2-20. Brisbane 2-3-15. 9.5 second term on Grandstand AFL.
Really nice finish there by Dan Houston and the most dominant player on the ground really to this point. The 11 disposals and a goal now, but it just, you look at the way the play unfolds and Houston often becomes the spare behind the footy because he's playing this side wing where our commentary box is, and when a wing drops defensively for the Lions, it leaves Houston at the top of the 50, and even in transition his running capability is leaving him in a lot of space. And Matt, I loved Mead's just time and space and composure to find Houston when he probably could have had a flying shot on goal in his debut.
Yeah, it was right. It was a bit of thick music, wasn't it? They had 3v1. They could have blazed away, or the wrong decision would have stopped him having a shot on goal, but he made the correct decision and gave us the good finisher.
It's got to all go well when you consider it's your first game of footy and you're making mature decisions like that. The ball back into the middle of the Gabba. Nice bounce from the umpire. Port by 5 points. Rayner extracts it, taps it forward. It's cut off by Jones with the large mullet. He gives it out to Drew. Now on the wing. It bounces for Rosie. He's got some toe and some space. Dangerous commodities with him involved. Gives it now to Butters. He goes around his opponent, chips it inside 50. Robinson brings it down for Brisbane. Starcevic did well. Collected ball, handball to Neal, straight down the middle. McStay on the bounce. Now they've got to go on the left foot, inside 50. Oh, Danaher and Cameron basically competed for the same pill. It's taken away by Mackenzie for Port Adelaide, and he kicks it to right half back. Darcy Byrne-Jones retrieves. Lauren Arnell.
That's multiple times now the Lions forwards are jumping against each other in the air. If Joe Danaher has a run and jump at the footy, you've got to let Joe Danaher run and jump at the footy.
Wines at centre half back for Port. The Brownlow medalist kicks it to Boak on the wing, and he chips it to Pal Pepper. Chip mark as Port control it just to the attacking side of halfway. That's a poor chip though infield from Pal Pepper. Missed Bonner, stolen by McStay of Brisbane. Kick to the bullseye mark by Rayner in the cricket pitch area. Hands it to McCarthy on 55. Strolls to 50. Open goal. Link McCarthy puts Brisbane back in front. (3-3 to 3-2). Locals back in the lead. 12-minute second term at Primus.
Well, it's a bit of the modern footy. Teams like to get the ball on the wing and then bring the ball back through the middle. Brisbane did one before. Port intercepted the ball and scored, and then that time there Port Adelaide had the ball. Pal Pepper tried to square the ball up, missed the target, and then you just open your defence up and they're impossible to stop, and scored against there. So both turnovers really crucial. But it's great to see that both teams are alert, looking for that 45. The kick's just a bit off. They pounce on it and made them pay both times.
It's just another example of why both teams are going to be really good teams again and should finish high up in the finals. That discipline to cut that off, as you said, Matt, it's making for a hotly contested game.
Yeah, are you enjoying the low-scoring nature of it?
I am.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sometimes you see first-round games, they're ugly low scorers. This one looks like it's an earned one from the defence of both teams.
No doubt about that.
No, they're having a crack, both teams. The umpire there, a little bit skew with the bounce. Lycett favoured by it. He gives it out now. Houston to the run of Bonner from behind. He checks his run and then tries to pass it to the first gamer in Mead, but it's cut off by Robinson. Now he's got the run of Zorko from behind. Zorko collects, kicks it inside 50. Danaher spoiled by Aaliyah. Rogue Archie, handball McCarthy. McCarthy on the left foot, misses to the left. One behind, 22 plays 20. The Lions by 2 points, 13 gone. Second term. There's better flowing football from the Lions then.
Another example, if you don't jump with Joe Danaher and bring another defender in, you actually stay at ground level, which Cal Archie was, and creates another scoring opportunity.
The cannon left boot of Mackenzie inbounds. He runs beyond the goal mouth, kicks to Aaliyah. Great mark, being manhandled by McCarthy in the process. Top grab from Aaliyah at right half back for Port. Chips over the man on the mark to Amon, who's had a very good start to the game. Touch 11 coming out for Carl Amon. It's an infield on the 45. Not a great kick though. Out the back, Port's got the numbers on the bounce though. It's Bonner who gives it to Boak. Boak hands it back to Riley Bonner. From 60, kicks to the pocket very wide. Andrews in the hole, got a hand, couldn't mark. Gray was the target, who did enough to spoil it over the line. And we'll see it thrown in 30 metres around from Port Adelaide's goal. They're attacking the school end, or we can almost name it the Robbie Gray end here after that kick after the siren against Carlton in 2020. Strange that this club has like so many, big story at the Gabba because of that unbelievably weird year we had. Ball thrown in, won by Boak at the coalface, no room to create. Ball back over the boundary line. Jess Webster's getting a pretty good view of Daniel Rich's rump over the last minute or so.
Yeah, they've been doing a fair bit of work on him, Q. They're now strapping his lower back, it looks like, so that he's obviously in a little bit of discomfort.
Thanks, Jess. I don't know how... could have been a bit of discomfort watching that as well, but the ball comes in from the boundary line. Throw in, towed forward by the Lions. McCluggage can't get it. Lycett was there as well. The big man brings it to ground. Now picked up by Cockatoo. He speeds away through traffic. Handball to the corridor to Zorko. Zorko ill-directed. He had three to choose from and kicked it down the throat of a Port Adelaide opponent in Burton. Burton now across to the outer side. Finds Butters on the logo.
Long kick inside 50. Wines gets to the drop. Ollie Wines, Brownlow medalist, in the Robbie Gray pocket. He's in Robbie's spot.
Let's see what he can do, see if he can achieve the same result, Q.
Well, of course, that kick was against Carlton, and not only Carlton winning and Collingwood winning, it's already been a pretty good week for Brisbane fans. because of Michael Voss and Craig McRae in their new jobs.
True.
Here's the Brownlow medalist from the pocket. Ollie Wines on his right boot. Set sail on goal, always near side, but gets a minor to halve the deficit. 3-4 plays 3-3. Brisbane in front, 16 minutes played, second term.
Port Adelaide have been a lot better being able to lock the ball inside their forward 50. They've been getting numbers in, matching Brisbane's numbers back, and having some repeat inside 50s, which in the first quarter just bounced out of there far too easy. So they've rectified that part of their game in this quarter.
24 inside 50s to 19 in favour of Port Adelaide. A big fly there from Mitch Robinson as the ball was projected towards him. Aaliyah got the spoil. The ball went over the boundary line. Would be a throw in. It's a right half forward for Port Adelaide or left half back for Brisbane. On the outer side of the ground, 1 point the difference with the Brisbane Lions leading 22-21. 16 and a half gone in this second term as we see vision of Daniel Rich warming up back on the boundary, and we'll check with Jess very shortly about that one. The throw in comes off the hands of Darcy Ford in front of Jared Berry. It's over the boundary line again. We'll have a throw in from the same spot. Just having a look at, and Aaliyah's taken his shoe off on the bench there for Port Adelaide as well, so Jess might be very busy very shortly having a look at a few things. That might be a nice respite for Joe Danaher too.
Boundary throw in falls short of the ruckman. Fort got it on the bounce, gives it to Lyons. Brisbane clearance, hand pass to Berry. High kick, no great penetration to the wing and close to the boundary too, knuckled out of play. It was Brisbane by 7 points at quarter time, 2-2 to 1-1, and it's been tight throughout. Port kicking 2 goals, 2 to Brisbane's 1-2, and it's a 1 point margin at the moment. Oh, a beautiful night for footy at the Gabba. Finlayson's in ruck, taps down, Rosie, hand pass out the back of the pack to Wines, clearance for Port, rush kick to half forward, pitches in front of the contest of Motlop and Zorko and out of play. One thing we are picking up, Lauren, a couple of times Zork's been the receiver off half back, playing in that role tonight.
Yeah, it's probably almost like that Pendlebury style this year at Collingwood. Just that run off half-back and back the ball user.
Thrown on the outer side. Who's going to win this 50-50? Hands and knees. Houston's buffeted off the ball. Amon has to play tackler in there to lock it up with Lyons around it. Neutral once more, near the bullseye, and it will be tossed in the air. Quentin Hull, Michael Price, Matt Primus, Lauren Arnell and Jess Stewart with you on Grandstand AFL.
Darcy Fort gets the tap out into the hands of Jared Lyons. He loses the handle on it. Coming through was Rosie. Lyons back in there as well with Travis Spoke. And we'll have the umpire come in and scoop it up, have another ball up just to the Port Adelaide side of the centre circles. It's taken by Brisbane. Big clearance inside 50. Danaher in front, juggling mark. The undersized Trent McKenzie against him instead of Aaliyah, who's on the bench injured at the moment. Would have helped Joe Danaher there, Lauren Arnell, I think.
Oh, no doubt. When the ball comes in that high, smart kick by Jared Lyons, that quick clearance, kick it high, give Joe a run at it.
Same spot.
Same spot, Joe Danaher.
Had a cider. What do you reckon?
Oh, I reckon it's a goal, straight up. No mucking around. We're not going to sit on the fence here. Joe Danaher will release from just outside the centre square. He launches. It's a prodigious kick to the right.
Overcompensated and missed the major opening.
23 plays 21. It's a 2 point margin. 19 gone second term. Jess Stewart's on the boundary.
Unfortunately, Aaliyah has gone down to the rooms with the physios to have a look at that left ankle that he landed quite awkwardly on in that contest with Mitch Robinson before.
Golf analogies just flowing off that. Big slice first one, overcompensated with the big hook, the second one. Port clear to the outer wing from the restart. Amon's underneath the pack. He's been prolific. Kicks the half forward, bounces away from Motlop. But he'll get a free kick. Zorko held him. So the veteran's going to inject Port inside 50 from 65 metres out. He'll kick it on the head of Marshall, who takes the mark in a 2-on-2 pack. 30 out directly in front.
Beautiful mark, arms out straight, highest point, and I've been a bit critical of him so far tonight. He hasn't presented or been up the line or down the line enough for Port Adelaide when they've been held up, but that just goes to show the talent he does have when he presents and has a clear jump of the ball.
24 goals last year, Todd Marshall. He's ticked past the 50 league games now, and you'd think with Dixon to come back, Fantasia to come back, Finlayson in the forward line, this young man's going to be a pretty important part of Port improving if they can. And that's a beautiful strike on the right from Todd Marshall to return the power to the lead. Good game of footy at the Gabba. 4-3-27 for Port, leading Brisbane's 3-5-23, 20 and a half played second term.
Well, we know the Lions play a bit more of a direct brand of football, but Port Adelaide, it feels, just starting to take a bit of momentum in this second quarter. And it shows through the stats, 25-plus disposals in Port Adelaide's favour at the moment. And their ball winners are the key players they want with footy in hand. Houston, Boak, Amon, Wines. Whereas for the Lions, Jared Berry's had 11 disposals, which is less than those 4 or 5 Port Adelaide players. And the next highest disposal winner for the Lions, Marcus Adams. That's not the guy that you want winning the most footy for you. You want your key ball winners, your key ball users winning footy. And we've seen now Lachie Neale back on ball, Nakia Cockatoo on ball. They need some good footy going inside 50.
Well, the clearance situation is relatively even, 17-16. You've got your centre clearances, though, that we'll have a look at as well. Darcy Fort gets it down. Drew steals it, propels it forward for Port Adelaide. Inside 50, Darcy Gardner versus Finlayson. Ball at ground level. Butters tackled without it. Umpire says, I spotted that. The ball was in his hands as Darcy Gardner was tackling him. The ball thrown away. Umpire saw the body being thrown without the ball, and it will be Connor Rozee will take a free kick. 40 metres out, slight angle to the right.
They had a pretty good quarter. He's done some nice things around the clinches, and then his speed outside has been pretty impressive, and then they've been able to go forward, and he gets a dubious free kick.
He moves forward, pokes it a bit, but it's straight. Rozee extends the lead for Port Adelaide. 5-3-33, plays 3-5-23 after 22 and a half of the second term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, he announced himself at this venue half a dozen rounds into 2019, Connor Rozee. Big future.
It's a huge future. And ability, as we said tonight, he goes on ball and there's a bit of youth on ball, and then when he's a forward, he's a really dangerous matchup. And as we've seen early in his career, he loves kicking a goal and getting on the end of him. So, as you said, Q, that draft they got when they got those 3 or 4 players, it's a bit like I mentioned Lauren before, back a few years ago now, but Port Adelaide got Travis Boak, Robbie Gray and Justin Westhoff, and those 3 players ended up playing nearly 300 games for him. It's when you nail a good draft, it can certainly help you down the track.
And he finished leading goal kicker in that first year, Rozee. Amazing for a first-year player. Port with 2 in a row and 4-1 in this second term. They lead by 10 points. Centre bounce, clearance for Brisbane. Cockatoo to hands and knees to handball to Neale. Kick to half forward. Lions caught behind, gives away a free kick on the mullet of Jones. And he's going to get the footy here just inside defensive 50 at right half back. Lachie Jones, long prodigious kick down the wing. Georgiades got a hand in the pack, couldn't control it. Berry roves for Brisbane on the wing. Hands to Rich, hands to Bailey, hands to Adams, all in tight. Then the kick, looking for McCarthy near the boundary, couldn't control it. Off his fingertips and out of play. Boundary throw in for Brisbane, 55 from goal at left half forward. Lions attacking the right of your dial. That's the western end, Port to the school end, here at the home of the 2032 Olympics.
The throw in at left half forward. McInerney at the back. Lachie Neale kicks it to the top of the square. Big contest, good spoiling effort from Lachie Jones coming back for Port Adelaide, and he'll see the ball over the boundary line. Right in front of the scoreboard that sees Port Adelaide leading by 10 points late in the second term. Tight game of football, this round 1 clash at the Gabba between Brisbane and Port Adelaide. We didn't expect much daylight between the two sides, and that's exactly what we got. Great tap down, Rayner Roves. Snap around the body and misses.
Poster.
There was really good ruck work from Darcy Fort, and Rayner just clipped the post. 33 plays 24, and it's 9 points the margin in favour of Port.
Bonner chips to Burne-Jones, marks and chips to Burton. Still in the right back pocket, chips to half back, finds his skipper and Jonas. That's an easy exit for Port. Uncontested to 55. But what's next? Jonas looks down the line with a kick to the wing. Uncontested mark to Houston. Chips in field. Uncontested mark to Burne-Jones. Ham passes to Burton, who's got space on the wing. Now here's the kick to the contest. 2-on-2 at half forward, and Adams wins it for Brisbane. Reading the flight, taking a fine defender's mark. Hands it to Rich. On D50 at left half back. Dan Richer high up and under to the wing. Off hands, roved by Houston of Port. It's coming back in for the power. He takes a bounce near the boundary, 70 out. Kicks it to full forward. Leading out Rozee, almost outmarked Answorth. Play on. Ainsworth kept his footing, won the ball, hands it to Adams, tries to bullock through, took him on, took too long, surely under the new interpretation. No. Kicked clear by Cockatoo of Brisbane. Here's Spall to the wing, gathered by McCarthy of the Lions. Hands it to Berry. Chips at 15 metres, make it 20 upfield. Lions marks it for Brisbane. Here's transfer to the feet of Danaher. Gathers it on the bounce, 60 out. His kick's just as bad. At the ankles of Cameron. They've marked that up. No. Burne-Jones is there for Port. His hand pass ricochets away. Near the boundary, McCluggage had it, lost it, got it again, got tackled. No way, that's holding the ball. Oh, wow. Free kick to Port in the back pocket, Lauren.
Oh, super tackle by Willem Drew. That's a goal-saving tackle on Hugh McCluggage. Really impressive.
To see Ollie Wine sucking in the big ones on the bench there too. We might have to get just to have a look at that, as Marshall is the intended target from the exiting kick. Spoiled illegally. Crowd doesn't like it over the boundary line by Jared Berry, but it is a free kick that will go to Marshall.
We are all learning with the new interpretation of holding the ball, but the spirit and intention reads from the AFL release. Play with possession will be provided an opportunity to dispose of the football before rewarding an opponent for a legal tackle.
That's cut off there by Daniel Rich, and it makes perfect sense to me, Q. Rich with the left foot finds his target in Zorko, inside 50, the mark taken by Danaher, who's enjoying his release from Aaliyah. He's got Trent McKenzie as an opponent. Now we'll all have bets on whether he kicked this from 30 metres out to slight angle to the left.
This is a must-kick goal. He's had two shots that he's very capable of kicking. He's missed both. Port Adelaide have gone down the other end and kicked both opportunities. This is a crucial set shot for Joe Danaher.
So Joe, as I say, just on 30 out. Slight angle to the left. Caresses it with the left foot and puts it through the middle. That should give this crowd some voice. 5-3-33. Plays 4-6-30. Port by 3 points late in the second quarter.
I think the other thing Brisbane would be happy with, the two people who got the ball in their hands before they kicked it to Danaher, Rich to Zorko off half-back. Now, while that might cost Brizzy at times goals against them with those two defending at half-back, it's going to create a lot of weapons when the ball's through the middle of the ground with those two coming off half-back. And on that occasion there, a beautiful kick to Danaher from Zorko.
And it's a new element for the Lions as well, because we know when the Lions come out of their back line, they want the footy in Dan Rich's hands. Now now other teams got to cover Rich and Zorko running off half-back. It's a whole new element for them.
McCluggage only 5 touches to this point. A little conspicuous in his lack of disposals at the moment. Jess Stewart on the boundary.
Still no sign of Aaliyah, so the Power currently running with 3 on the bench.
Yeah, Dersmore out of the game with a collarbone injury and Motlop subbed in. Thanks, Jess. Centre bounce. Lycett clear tap down for Port as he got a rover. No, Boak hustled off it, picked up by Neil of Brisbane. High clearance to half forward. Cameron tangling there with Burton. They get it to deck and go again. Pal Pepper arrives third in. Numbers for Port and he wins the footy. Hand pass from the wing to Boak. Forward of halfway. Chip infield finds Drew. Has to hold it up. Kick and a half from goal between wing and left half forward. Now Drew is going to drive it deep to full forward for Port Adelaide. Flying spoil from Andrews, a 25 knuckle-busting clearance. Went to attacking 50 of Port, though. Pal Pepper picked up, got tackled, no prior. And a ball up, 40 from Port Adelaide's goal.
Just a poor kick inside 50. He just kicked it straight line, and Andrews happy days when the ball kicked in straight line. He needed to kick it off the line there and give the Port forwards a chance to jump and mark at the ball.
Lycett gets it down. It went through the hands of Jared Berry, so he toes it. Picked up inside the centre square by Port Adelaide's Burne-Jones. He finds Mead on the point of the centre square. He's got a leader, puts it towards him, and it's with Robbie Gray. Spins out of a tackle. The handball now with Rosie outside of the shoe. And he's kicked a point from the boundary. Talented boy. 34 plays 30. Port Adelaide by 4 points as the Lions bring it back in.
Tight one here on Grandstand AFL. Rich receives the short kick in the pocket and chips it to Adams. So uncontested to half back for Brisbane. And Adams down the line to McCluggage. So touch 6 coming up for number 6 here, McCluggage. Runner up in the best and fairest for Brisbane last year. Runs off the mark. Has 1, 2 bounces strolling to the wing. Never looks like he's really sprinting, the boy from Ballarat. Gets to halfway and kicks it on the head of Danaher. Nice front on spoil from McKenzie to legally get it out of play.
He did really well there, the Cannon. I thought that was a free kick for all money coming with the flight of the ball, but he did beautifully.
Right half forward for Brisbane. 60 metres out with the ball tossed in. McInerney and Lysett tangle. Down to Butters of Port, got a toe to it. Powell Pepper roves, got a hand pass clear. Not really clearing the chop. Drew hands it back to his ruckman Lysett. Still on D50, got his boot to it there. Kicks a rush ball to the wing. Bounces in front of Adams, who taps it cleverly to Lyons. Lyons back to Adams for Brisbane. His shins off the side of the boot, the entry inside 50. Out of bounds on the full. Free kick to Port in the left back pocket. Brisbane led by 7 points at quarter time. 2-2 to 1-1. 4 goals to 2 for Port in this quarter. And it's the visitors 5-4-34 leading the locals 4-6-30.
And Port Adelaide to bring it back in. Trent McKenzie, former Gold Coast Sun, 101 games with them. Long kick with the left boot, typical. In front, Adams had it spoiled away by Marshall. It was Lockneil who roved it, got the handball away, tapped down Berry into Lyons, and that's a beautiful intercept marked by Lockie Jones, the mulleted one. And we say that because that's approaching Billy Ray Cyrus standard. It is absolutely magnificent from Lockie Jones in 2022. Long kick towards the Vulture Street wing, and Lockie Neal read it well. As it went towards Butters, punched it over the boundary line, and we'll get a throw in front of an appreciative Gabba crowd.
Getting close to half-time here. If you've got a thought or two, we'd love to hear it. 0437 774 774 is the SMS number. 0437 774 774. Throw in. McInerney clean possession. Hand passes to Neal. Gathers on the bounce. 55 out. His kick isn't for goal. Centering to the top of the goal mouth, and Danaher gets high for the first time in 2022 to take a chest mark on top of the pack.
He's played on, and the siren's gone.
Oh, wow.
He's played on.
Gave the hand pass to Cockatoo after the siren had sounded. I hadn't heard it because the crowd was in raptures. And he's not, of course, allowed to play on after the siren. Got a big ride on the back of Tom Jonas. Well, only Joe could do that. Only Joe could do that. That's half-time. Brisbane should be in front, but they're not. Port Adelaide leads by 4 points at the long break. 5-4-34 to 4-6-30. So just to explain that again, Danaher flew and took the mark. Siren sounded among the raptures of the locals going off at Joe's fly. And Joe didn't hear it himself. Hand pass to Cockatoo. And the ump rightly said, time has expired. Set shot or no play.
Just no need to handball 5 metres out. There's just no need. I'll get it from the boundary line or whatever, but just no need for it. But as you said, that's Joe.
So the goal kickers for Port Adelaide, all singles. Boak, Amont, Houston, Marshall, Rosie. Darcy Foote kicked 2 for Brisbane in the first quarter, and in the second term, McCarthy and Danaher 1 apiece. Port 5-4-34, Brisbane 4-6-30. A little exclamation point at the end of the first half of this contest. A blank sheet of paper for two teams that have been so close the last couple of years, but they've got to start again. What have you made of it, Lauren Arnell and Matt Primus?
Well, just like we mentioned at quarter time, a really tough game. I think Port were able to get the ascendancy in the arm wrestle, the contested possession, evened up the last 5 minutes a bit towards Brisbane. But what I liked, Port Adelaide were able to get the ball inside 50 and they pushed their numbers in there, as I mentioned, during that quarter to pin the ball in. They got some easy shots on goals. But on the flip side, Brisbane would be cursing themselves. They had 3 or 4 opportunities when they were going fast inside 50. They had lots of options on, and either their decision-making or their skill execution let them down, and they probably left 3 goals out there that quarter begging just by some poor decision or a bit of fatigue also, because it is has been a game that's been played at a fair tempo. But yeah, look, an arm wrestle both ways they're going. I think both defences, once again, like the first quarter, are well on top. But Port Adelaide's midfield for that quarter there started to run a little bit harder and a little bit better than what Brisbane were able to do.
And possibly smarter, Matt, for Port Adelaide. I think 9 scoring shots to 10. It's a close game. Port Adelaide leading by the 4 points. But as you said, there are definitely 3 goals left out there. I'm wondering what the message is with Joe Danaher, because all 3 were directly related to his decision-making or his execution. And I like watching what players do at halftime, and you could see like Mitch Robinson, Cam Rayner, the looks on their faces as that unfolded, and obviously giving the handball off to Cockatoo, and you could see a smile on Joe, a bit of a wry smile on Joe's face, and he actually made the effort to walk away from the race towards the bench to get around to every single player that was coming off the bench.
Yeah, it was different,
so he
wasn't
didn't
it?
shy away from it,
No.
which I think is healthy.
Yep.
And the last player he saw was Zorko, and they put their arms around each other. So you'd think there's a pretty good understanding now within that group of Joe and what makes him tick. And I believe if Aaliyah stays out of the game, I'm not sure if we have an update on that, Q, but if Aaliyah stays out of the game and they can get Joe's headspace right to convert the opportunities he's creating, because he's working hard for them, if those opportunities convert, the Lions are 3 goals up at half-time.
Well, very, very eloquently put, but which clock, when you're talking about how people tick, which clock of a full forward who's going to lead a team, hopefully to a premiership, gives it off from 10 metres out directly in front anytime, ever? Practice game, round one, like, seriously, does Tony Lockett ever do that?
No. Well,
Jason Dunstall ever do that?
Buddy Franklin?
No, well, maybe. But Bud's, he's only got 1,000.
He's got 1,000. He hasn't got way too many.
He hasn't got as many as Joe.
No.
But it's only round one. It's only a little thing. But seriously, surely that can be coached out of his game. Matt, you've been in there. If you are the full forward and you're 10 metres out directly in front, I don't care. Go back and kick the goal. If you're going to make the mistake, make it your mistake. Off your boot.
No doubt. The other layer is to it. Players and teams know with the runners and information that there's a minute left, 30 seconds left. Let's lock it in your forward 50, whatever it is, hold the ball, slow it down. I'm sure most of the players would have got the message there's stuff all time left. So Joe would have known that. So to mark the ball and then play on quickly.
What is the modern phenomenon that the players don't want the responsibility to kick for goal?
Yeah.
I think I can't disagree with you, Q, but I do to Joe's defence.
But you're going to try.
It's a heavily valued part of the game when you do share the love in your team.
I reckon full forwards winning Coleman's is a pretty valued part of the team.
Yeah, so I'm not disagreeing with you, but I do think his intent is not to remove responsibility. It's actually to share the love with a guy like Nakai Cockatoo. He sees him and thinks, mate, you're working so hard but not getting any reward for your efforts. Here's a guy I can reward. Poor decision in the moment, and the benefit of this also is it's round one and there's plenty of time to coach that Coleman into him and help the players around him, as Matt said, like a bit more game awareness, a bit more sense of time. Take a breath, take a pause, and nail the goal that you're more than capable of kicking. And if I'm Port Adelaide right now, I'm pretty happy with the position that we're in going in at half time.
I've missed my Saturday nights talking footy with you guys. It's great stuff. Good on you, Lauren. Good on you, Matt Primus. Half-time here. It's Port by 4 points, 5-4-34 to Brisbane's 4-6-30. Earlier on today, Geelong and Sydney winners. Geelong 20 goals, 18-138 to the Bombers 11-6-72. And Sydney, speaking of Bud, he kicked one more, 9-9-6 for Franklin, as the Swans kicked 17-10-112 to Greater Western Sydney's 13-14-92. So a big win for the Swans in the derby. In the NRL today, Gold Coast beat the Warriors 20-18. Cronulla beat Parramatta 18-16. And let's see if they're at full time in Townsville yet. No. But there's only a couple of minutes to go and the Cowboys are headed for victory there. North Queensland 26, leading the Canberra Raiders 6 in the Super Rugby Pacific in the Australian part of it anyway today. The Force beat Fiji 20 points to 18. And the Waratahs 24 lead the Rebels 19. In the World Cup cricket today, Australia won by Duckworth-Lewis Stern method. India made 7 for 277. No, they didn't. They actually got back on, actually. I thought there was going to be a DLS result there because it was raining, but they actually got on and got the runs. Did Australia, 4 down for 280. They got them in the 50th over, so the Australian women remaining unbeaten in that 50-over World Cup over in New Zealand. In the A-League today, Central Coast 4 beat Macarthur 2. Later on, it's Melbourne City and Melbourne Victory 1 each. And Sydney FC 3 leading Western United 0. NBL today, Illawarra 91 beat Tasmania 65. Currently Sydney Kings 70 leading South East Melbourne 65. That game is into the third quarter. And in the polls, Anthony Green has called it. He called it at quarter time. The Malinauskas Labor Party set to take power in South Australia with that state election today. So if you have been with us on South Australian radio, so flicking between the digital and maybe the local radio coverage and a bit of TV as well. Thanks for obviously being a part of our night as well. But it looks like that it's going to be a change of government in South Australia. Okay, that's pretty much the half-time housekeeping done, with Port leading by 4 points at the break. Little things. Oz kickers still, once again, back at the footy. We're getting used to the normality coming back. One thing that never changes. When it gets to half-time, you need to stop talking about the footy and say, let's get the latest from the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. The ABC's election analyst Anthony Green says that the South Australian Liberal government has been defeated. With 12.2% of the vote counted, there's been a 5.9% statewide swing to the Labor opposition. There's even been a big swing towards Labor in the Premier's own eastern Adelaide suburb seat of Dunstan, which he holds with a 7.4% margin. Labor MP Leon Bignell's been campaigning to retain his seat of Moss in south of Adelaide. He says it's been hard work, and he's described his Liberal opponent Amy Williams as a champ.
Campaigned really hard. She's done a great job. And so today at 6:05, as soon as the booths were closed, we went to the Aldinga Hotel and sat down and had a beer together, because we're not in some parts of the world which unfortunately at the moment are in conflict, where they're at war. We are so lucky to live in Australia, where we can have points of difference. We can compete in a contest of ideas without violence.
It's still unclear if the Labor will have to rely on crossbench support. Former Liberal, now Independent, Sam Dullock says his focus has been on the people of Waite, and he hasn't decided on which party he will back.
I'm very happy to sit down with both parties to talk about the priorities for Waite and the important policies within that.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says the time's come for a meeting to end the war with Russia. He's also calling on the West to tighten economic sanctions on Moscow. With the Russian invasion now well into its fourth week, Mr. Zelensky's calling for comprehensive peace talks.
Peace negotiations for Ukraine, meaningful, fair, and without delay, are the only chance for Russia to reduce the damage from its own mistakes. I want everyone to hear me now, especially in Moscow. It's time to meet.
Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden's told his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping that China will face consequences not just from the US but from the world if Beijing offers material support to Russia in its war with Ukraine. Mr. Biden issued a warning in a video call lasting almost 2 hours. However, the White House has offered no other details of what action could be taken. Derek Chollet, a lead official with the US Department of State, says that China has an obligation to assert its influence with Russia in a positive way.
If China does not live up to those responsibilities, if in fact it is supporting Russia either economically or militarily, we've been very clear to the Chinese leadership that there will be consequences.
The Ukrainian government is appealing for international help with the problem of unexploded devices. It says it could take years to deal with all the unexploded bombs and mines in Ukraine from the Russian invasion. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office says 112 children have been killed so far in the Russian invasion. It says 140 other children have also been wounded. Here at home, another 12 people have died with COVID-19 in New South Wales as the state records more than 20,000 cases. Helen Frost reports.
There were 19,060 new coronavirus cases recorded in the latest reporting period. It comes after the state recorded more than 20,000 cases for 3 consecutive days. Another 12 people have died with the virus. There are 1,090 people in hospital with coronavirus. 29 of them are in intensive care. New South Wales Health is urging people who haven't been boosted to get their third dose as soon as possible. Case numbers are expected to increase over the coming weeks as a subvariant of Omicron spreads.
4 people who tested positive to COVID-19 have died in Western Australia. The rise in the death toll comes as WA records 5,838 new infections. 147 cases are in hospital, 4 people are in ICU. Queensland's Deputy Premier Stephen Miles says the state government's chasing agreement from the federal government on a 50-50 cost split for a $771 million flood relief package. Grants of up to $50,000 will be available to retrofit 5,500 flood-affected homes, and grants of up to $100,000 will be on offer to raise another 1,000 homes. Under the plan, $350 million will be used to buy back around 500 houses. Mr Miles says the Queensland Premier has written to the Prime Minister seeking joint funding for the package.
certainly hope that that agreement will come quickly so that we can provide details out to residents very quickly. At the same time, the Premier has also asked the Prime Minister to match the hardship assistance payments.
ABC News. Get more news from our website at abc.net.au/news.
ABC, your trusted source of accurate and timely emergency information.
We've had the ABC on basically all afternoon listening.
There's so much going on. Getting news is a priority.
Well, I'm a fan of the ABC.
It must be love, love, love.
I listen to the ABC every day. I'm extremely grateful.
ABC Radio, reliable source for information.
On radio, on the ABC Listen app and the ABC Emergency website.
It must be love, love, love.
ABC, stay connected.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL. On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Trent McKenzie plays on just from underneath the scoreboard, the cannon. What a left foot that is. Straight to the Vulture Street wing. Now that's going to be 50. Zorko has knocked the ball out of Carl Eamon's hands. Carl Eamon will have a crack at it and he'll let go from 50. Slight angle to the left. Port Adelaide would love this. He leans back. And it is straight. Port Adelaide get their second.
Finlayson stole it from Robinson. Hand passes to Houston. Runs to 60. Hands it to the first game of Mead. He gives it off. Houston on the snap from 40. Kicks the goal for Port. And the Power take the lead at the Gabba. Pal Pepper missed Bonner, stolen by McStay of Brisbane. Kick to the bullseye mark by Rayner in the cricket pitch area. Hands it to McCarthy on 55. Strolls to 50. Open goal. Link McCarthy puts Brisbane back in front. So the veteran's going to conject Port inside 50 from 65 metres out. He'll kick it on the head of Marshall. This young man's going to be a pretty important part of Port improving if they can. And that's a beautiful strike on the right from Todd Marshall to return the Power to the lead.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Well, it's not all bad for Marshals from South Australia tonight. Not so much at the polling booth, though. Nice to have you with us on ABC Sport. News out of that state election that former Premier Stephen Marshall has conceded and we'll have a change of government in South Australia. Here at the footy, it's Port Adelaide by 4 points at half-time. Nice to have you with us. Quentin Hull along with Michael Price, Matt Primus, Lauren Arnell and Jess Stewart. It was Brisbane by 7 points at quarter-time, but now Port by 4 at the long break. Stephen Motlop's into the game because Xavier Dersma's been subbed out with a shoulder injury. Concern for Alir as well. We'll get more from Jess Stewart. So that's a part of the storyline outside of the game itself. And you'd suspect there will be quite the assessment of the bump which led to Dersma leaving the ground with Mitch Robinson, the man that collided with him. Seemed to have been high after Dersma had taken possession of the ball. So we wait to see what happens there.
It will be interesting, and I really would love to get Lauren Arnell and Matthew Primus's take on the fact that a lot of these outcomes are basically influencing the amount of time you might get suspended. So let's say a cracked collarbone is not a concussion injury, is it? No. So it's a grey area that I'm thinking with Mitch attacking the head. That's all I'm saying.
I would think that injury, if it's a couple of weeks or whatever it is, or just purely the fact that he's had to play no further part in the game won't help Mitch at all. It happened a split second, but as you mentioned, Q, just by lowering himself instead of standing up because he was going to be second to the ball or to the contest, you put yourself at the mercy. It had been a nice bump and nothing happened, no worries, but you just
far from callous.
No, if it wasn't malice, it was a little bit to protect yourself, a little bit of that, but you just can't bump if you're second to the ball.
And that's the choice. It's the choice to bump as opposed to try and win the ball or wait and lay a tackle that's a bit safer.
Just before we do the stats, a moment or two, Loz, to get a thought on the AFLW. Because Freo's through, beat North Melbourne today. They'll play Adelaide. And we are still waiting for confirmation as to when Brisbane will play Collingwood in the other of the cutthroat finals, which should have been played today but has been delayed due to a number of COVID cases in the Collingwood camp. It looks like this is going to force the season back a week, which is strange because all the talk was, let's get these fixtures through because we've set a special spot in the calendar, so there's no men's footy around the AFLW Grand Final, but now that plan looks like it's going to go to waste.
It's hard to know until there's an announcement made. I think the longer the announcement takes, it's all pending Collingwood's health.
Yeah.
I think the policy is you have to have 16 players healthy, and then the remaining players can be training partners who are not contracted but have been training partners with the club to top up to the 21 that field the team. And so for as long as there's not 16 healthy contracted Collingwood players, the game can't be played. And so I guess it's out of anyone's hands at the moment, really. You're just waiting on the Collingwood doctor to say to the AFL, we're ready to go.
Yeah, so there's no footy at the Gabba next weekend. There has been talk that they could play it Saturday, in 7 days' time, here. And the other thought that came through our mind, even in the box, we know that Brisbane's played quite a few games at Carrara, and Gold Coast plays its first home game next Saturday night against the Demons. So if they didn't want to open two venues on the Saturday, would the Lions come at that, going down to Carrara to play, if they had to?
I think if you're a Brisbane Lion, you want to be playing at the Gabba. But if you're a Brisbane Lion and you have a Queensland final and your choice is Carrara or the Gabba, look, I think the Lions AFLW group would be pretty happy playing on either deck. It suits their game style. It's a fast, stadium-based game. I don't think there'd be too many complaints, but I think in a perfect world, a Brisbane Lions AFLW team plays a final at the Gabba.
Port by 4 points. Top three possession winners: Berry 15, Adams 14, Rich 11, Neil 11. That's for the hosts. For the visitors who lead by 4 points, Houston 16, Burne-Jones 15, and Boak 14. To Jess Stewart before we get the third term underway on the boundary, Jess.
And great news, Port Adelaide have Aaliyah back on the field. He's good to go this second half, but sounds like Xavier Dersma is likely being sent to hospital, according to Port Adelaide staff. They've told me definitely a collarbone.
Thanks, Jess. And a good text coming through. The MRO, of course, changing this year where the action of the bump gets suspended regardless of the injury outcome.
Yeah, well, that's always been the right thing to do, methinks, as we start back in the middle of the Gabba. Port Adelaide extract the ball immediately through the first gamer in Mead on the left foot. Inside 50, Finlayson lays a push out. Now Daniel Rich attacks the ball. He's bumped into Connor Rosie there too, who's come off a little bit second best. Daniel Rich plays on with the left foot, looks for Jared Berry. Great spoil by Lockie Jones, and it just seems that the game might be igniting a little bit. The ball goes over the boundary line and we'll get another throw in. It just seems that opening exchange was at a higher pace.
Rosie just trying to walk out, I think, a right leg issue there. Throw in. Just forward of the wing for Port Adelaide. McInerney's second time fists it clear, but Houston's going to be first to meet it for Port on the boundary. Running defensively, turns to the attacking side and hand passes to Burne-Jones. Nice play. On the wing, he kicks to half forward. Andrews fists the pack, but Lycett roves for Port. His handball not all that creative, so he goes back after it. Second time handball not all that creative. Stolen by Rich. Gives to Zorko. Attacked by Amon. He turns over the handball. Motlop's got it. He's tackled. Neil picks it up for Brisbane. Indiscriminate hand pass stolen by Rosie. Gave it off to Finlayson. Here's to Wines, and Wines' kick has been marked by Powell Pepper. 30 out directly in front. That was a mess until a little bit of space for Wines.
Well, the Brownlow medalist, perfect execution to the advantage of such a strong player in Powell Pepper. Brandon Starcevic, it's no mean feat to beat him one-on-one, but Powell Pepper just standing up, holding front space, and a nicely placed ball again by Ollie Wines.
Sam Powell Pepper. 7 games away from the century milestone. No angle to speak of. 40 metres out. The kick is a good one, and Port Adelaide leads by 10 points. Early stages, third term at the Gabba. Power 6-4-40. Lions 4-6-30.
No doubt the adjustment after quarter time when the ball just bounced out of Port's forward line far too easy. They've been able to, one, give a better contest and not be outmarked or outcrumbed by Brisbane. But then when Brisbane do win the ball, they're closing down the winger space, the high half-forward space. And on that occasion there, Brisbane tried to get the ball out, but there was just too much pressure. Another repeat inside 50 and a goal. And they've certainly tidied that up. And that's why a bit of Brisbane's midfielders and half-forwards are finding it hard to get into the ball, because there's no flowing easy ball out of their back line like it was in the first quarter.
33 inside 50 to Port Adelaide, 27 to Brisbane. That's equated to Port now leading by 10 points. We're back into the middle of the Gabba. Crowd's a little stunned at the minute. Port Adelaide taking the ascendancy early in the second half. Awkward bounce, and we'll have to do that all again. It does ruin the theatre a tad.
I thought he was going to let it go. There was absolutely no chance for Lysett in that first attempt.
Not at all. Better bounce the second time. It was a contest, and then he's adjudged that Lysett was shepherding McInerney away. So McInerney will get the free kick in the middle of the ground for the Brisbane Lions. Immediately the handball goes to Zorko. Zorko now, a long kick inside 50, looking for Danaher. He's nudged out of it. Ball falls to the back of the pack. Darcy Ford is the unlikely rover. Entering now, Lockie Neal. Ball spills towards the boundary line. Port Adelaide with a chance, and it's taken over the boundary line by Ollie Wines. We'll get a throw in. About 15 metres from the Brisbane goal in the left forward pocket.
10 points the lead to Port. This one just simmering at the moment. Throw in with Brisbane in attack. Lysett double fists it back towards the boundary, and will go over before another play touches it.
It was a great opportunity for Danaher then. He sort of tried to play for the free kick. If he had been really strong in the air against Mackenzie would have probably given away a free kick because of the extra height that Danaher's got. So if he keeps leaping at the ball, he'd give Mackenzie problems. If he plays for free kicks, Trent will be happy.
Matt Primus with you on Grandstand AFL. Shallow throw in. Both ruckmen miss it. Out the back, Bailey for Brisbane. Hand pass to McCluggage, who got bumped off it. Great attack on the footy. It's at the bottom of that pack, trying to pick it up. It was Butters coming in. He smashed into Hugh McCluggage. No clearance from it. Boak had a go. Fort got him. Good intensity from Port. All thrown up on attacking 50 for Brisbane. Boak with the rove. Hand pass to Wines. Hand pass wide of first game of Mead. Chance for McStay. Had it. Mead got him. Great hassle from the youngster. 50-50 ball on attacking 50. McCluggage again. He's been worn like a cheap suit tonight by the Port opposition. Comes out Rayner though for Brisbane on return. A banana bender for Cam Raider is across the face, and a point. Port by 9. Hugh McCluggage just the 6 possessions so far this evening.
And Cam Raider with just the 9 as well as Finlayson receives the ball. Nice kick outside defensive 50. Now he puts it over the head of Travis Boak. In fact, it's going to run away from him and go over the boundary line. It was in front of him, not the bad place to be, but it just rolled away, and we'll get a throw in right in front of the grandstand commentary box. You see now the setup. Lysett comes in, gets in front of McInerney, double hands it towards the boundary line. Boak leads in the chase. Will the ball evade him? It does. We'll get another throw in about another 20 metres to the right of where I'm sitting. Lauren Arnell's giggling and pointing to Matt Primus.
And they've taken their headphones off.
That's it. You love it when the commentators take their headphones off to share a private conversation, Q. You just wonder what it was about.
And then we'll extricate. Hold on, we'll just call the footy for this bit. Throw in as the big men tangle. McInerney with an open palm down for Rayner. Boundary side of the pack. Tackled by Butters, that's Pryor, and holding the ball. What were you talking about?
Oh, I'm pretty disappointed in her. Actually, she was bagging how the ruckman run.
Butters chips in field to Wines, got it on the half volley. By hand to Houston, by hand to Burn-Jones. Ringer, Rosie without Connor being anywhere near it on the wing. Now the kick from Butters to attacking 50. Rich fists the pack. Out the back, chance for Gray. Gives to Georgiadis. Breaks a tackle. Hand pass not great. Rich taps it clear for Brisbane. To Zorko, hands it back to Andrews. He looks like he's got heaps of time, Harris, as he kicks it beyond defensive 50 on the head of Archie. No mark. Roved by Lyons, tapped down to Rayner. From half back, he kicks to the wing, over the head of Danaher, and Mackenzie takes the mark for Port.
The crowd didn't like it, but it was fair enough. Chip ball onto the logo. Motlop, the medical sub, who's come on for Dersma now on the Vulture Street wing. Danaher standing the mark. He comes further towards the boundary line to find Ryan Burton, the former Hawthorn player. He chips it forward. Burn-Jones now. Another sizzling ball, so it's just touch footy at the moment. Travis Boakes now 70 from goal, right against the boundary, right half forward. He looks for a target. It was Robbie Gray who was double-teamed, roving Starcevic. Handball Zorko, handball now Jared Lyons to the 50-metre arc, and he chips one outside, finds Lockie Neal, who plays on with a handball to Bailey immediately.
Time to run on the members' wing. Kicks to the lead of Cameron, sport away by Burton. On the deck, picked up by Archie. Burst through, lost the footy. Gave it to Cameron, though, in a spewing manner. No great control from Cameron's hand pass, looking for Neal, and over the line. Where is the space and fluency for Brisbane?
Well, it's a bit of the pressure of the ball. I was about to say Burton's had a great game on Cameron, hasn't he? He's worn him like a glove up the ground. He hasn't let him get in behind him. He's done a terrific job in the first half.
9 points the lead to Port Adelaide, early stages, third term. Another Port player limping to the bench. We'll get to Jess in a moment. Boak with the clearance. Hands it to Wines. Tackled. Got rid of it just in time with a handball to Burton. Hands it to Houston. Back at half back. Does a 360 and then sees Burn-Jones in space at the half back flank. Chips it to him and he marks. Down the line. Good kick to Jones. Burn-Jones 33 to Jones 34. Hand pass to Wines. 2 kicks from goal between wing and half forward. Deep entry. Inside 50 is marked. And it's Georgiadis who's grabbed it for Port. 35 out, slight angle to the right.
Had the extra man, Brisbane too, because of, I think it was Rosie might have been coming off with a sore ankle, so had the extra man there. But sometimes when you have the extra man, you're waiting for somebody else to come and do the job for you, and Brisbane just sat and watched, and Port were able to take the mark inside forward 50.
That was reasonably average from Marcus Adams. Just let him scroll through there.
Vince Georgiadis kicked 32 goals last year. It's his 3rd season on the list at Port Adelaide. Slight angle to the right. This for a 15-point lead for the Power. Strike on the right is always a little sliced. And a minor 6-5-41 to 4-7-31. Back to Jess Stewart on the boundary. Yeah. Got a ringer for Connor.
Connor Rozee, he's definitely in a bit of pain at the moment. He's grimacing as he walks around, trying to limp it off a little bit, I think.
So the Lions play on through Daniel Rich from fullback. Long kick to the outer wing. Lockie Jones flies high over the pack and destroys that ball. Takes it towards the Port Adelaide bench and over the boundary line on the Stanley Street wing. We'll get another throw in. Port by 10.
Is it just me, Matt, or have Port done really well at controlling the pace of the game here?
No doubt about that, especially when they're going inside 450. Chip, until they can kick it really deep, and then that helps them control the pace for sure.
Darcy fought with a good body work, got rid of Lysett, and the ball spills to Jared Berry. He hooks it around his body towards Mitch Robinson and McStay, but it was just a little bit of intervention from Lockie Jones that took it over the boundary line for another throw in.
And on the other side of that, Lauren, where does Brisbane need to find its zip and its run that we've seen so much at the Gabba?
I think Matt mentioned it earlier. Port have been really effective in closing down those quick D50 exits and creating scoring chains for the Lions from there. Port have been really disciplined to close that down.
Neil Rowe from the boundary line throw in. Gave it to Cockatoo by hand. He's tackled into the ground by Jonas. Ball spills now. Drew kicks it into the middle of the ground. Contest. Houston, Robbie Gray now knocked to the ground. Darcy Gardner handball back to Harris Andrews. He finds Lockneil on the outer wing. He chips forward. Bailey's got the ball and looking for an option out wide.
Hand passes to Neil. 2 kicks from goal. Deep entry to the pocket. Over the head of McCarthy. Roved by Burton of Port. Hands it to Alir in the pocket. Clearing defensive 50 with a kick. Went to the hands of Neil. His hand pass is smothered by Gray, and then Neil tackles Gray off the ball. Free kick. And now the Gabba faithful are aware that Brisbane 9 unfairly dealt with Port 9. It's Gray on the 45 infield chip, marked by Houston, who's had a huge night. He's at defensive side of the wing. Possession 21 coming up for Dan Houston. He's able to chip infield on the 45, just the required to Burton. Marks on the wing. Kicks at the half foot, uncontested mark, Powell Pepper. It's got a runner on around the boundary line. It's Bonner, inside 50, left foot from the boundary to the goal line, and Georgiadis takes another mark. No chance for Gardner to spoil with that delivery. Tight angle in the right forward pocket, but only 10 metres out for Mitch Georgiadis. Beautiful entry from the Power. And Georgiadis is just trying to work out how he's going to execute here. Looks like he's going to go left foot snap, and he kicks the goal, and Port Adelaide is out by a game-high 15 points at the 12-minute mark of the third term. Power 7-5-47, leading Brisbane 4-7-31. Jess Stewart on the boundary.
Now, injury troubles for the Lions this time. Lockie Neal came over to the bench and went straight to the physio, and they're having a good pull at his finger, so it looks like he may have had an issue there in that last contest.
And we aren't pulling yours by saying that Port's on top here at the Gabba.
And you look back to where that play started, there was actually a really nice entry from the Lions inside 50, and again Ryan Burton beating Charlie Cameron 1-on-1, and the chain starts from there. In Port Adelaide, you want to see growth and progression in your pre-season, and if this isn't growth and progression, I'm not quite sure what is. Ahead of the Lions in the third quarter here at the Gabba, and Rozee going to the bench, and look what looked like down to the change rooms. You're also missing Dersma. Alir is sore. Super impressive from the power so far.
And the fact that you had Robbie Gray in trouble earlier on in the game as well. They've been a really impressive performance. I agree with you, Lauren O'Neill. Ball spills forward for Brisbane. Bailey now from the contest. Off the side of the boot, it almost advantaged Charlie Cameron, but he had Lockie Jones for close company. Now the ball with Bonner. Bonner wheels onto his left foot. Inside defensive 50, looking for Powell Pepper out wide towards the boundary line. Powell Pepper did well to keep his feet. He had Starcevic on the hammer. Now it's, Georgiadis is basically injured on the outside. Got the ball back to Wines. Wines on the right foot, kicks it long down the wing. 2-on-1, Brisbane favoured. Starcevic now gave it back to Answorth. He's tackled. That's holding the ball. That's great effort from the Port Adelaide side. Carl Amon on the outer side, plays on quickly and sees somebody inside forward 50, and it's Stevie Motlop who was involved in that contest and ran forward. He'll have a shot at goal uncontested.
Now it's just work rate. We're seeing Port Adelaide players beating the Lions forwards to run their way, and then again in transition, Port Adelaide forward running well ahead of any other Brisbane defenders.
Stevie Motlop, 254 AFL games as of today. They play 135 of them for Geelong. Of course, won a premiership as well, the 31-year-old. He's going to come in. He's on a very, very tight angle to the left, about 45 degrees. He's going to have to start at the right goal post. He does. It curls back nicely. Stevie Motlop. That's experience, and that puts a punctuation point on it for Port. 8-5-53 to 4-7-31. Now 18 points to the margin in favour of... 22 points to the margin. My math stinks. 14 and a half gone, third term.
What's been highlighted so far is Port backs have won one-on-ones. So Jones won one before down there, and so they're winning the one-on-ones, and then as you said, Lauren, then the work rate, they've been able to win that one-on-one and then kick it to an exit, an uncontested exit, and then they've been able to march the ball off the field. But Brisbane's forwards, because they've had enough opportunities this quarter, they've got to start trying to win some of their one-on-one contests.
Is it fair to say that's an adjustment for Port Adelaide? Because I think back to Port late in the season last year, it was working for them. They're trying to create a Lear free and create spares, even Jonas at times. And tonight, as you said, they're happy to go one-on-one and win each time.
Yeah, it definitely could be. It'd be interesting to keep an eye on it as the season goes along, but they've been terrific tonight in that regard.
And we've now got 8 individual goal kickers for Port Adelaide. Centre bounce, Mitch Robinson underneath for Brisbane. Gets a much-needed clearance for the Lions. Kicks deep. Fly from Rayner. Couldn't take the mark. Jones has hit the pack. He got the foot. He got tackled. Got rid of it by hand. On the ground. Chance there for Bailey. Makes the tackle on Bonner. Ump says play on. Drew has a go. He's wrapped up by Robinson. Crowd getting into it. Ump says mine.
Interesting, Q. We had the umpires talk to us at a VFL level about if you get tackled and you're getting slung around in a 360, you don't get rid of it, you're just going to be holding the ball, and that certainly looked like there should have been a free kick to Brisbane then.
McStay won the ball up, tapped down, can't find a rover though. Bonner's clearing kick for Port doesn't go all that far. Burn Jones helps it with a toe poke beyond defensive 50. Gathered by Motlop in the centre of the ground for Port. Defensive hand pass. Well, it's fumbled all the way back to half back by first game of Mead, but he can gather now by hand to Amon. He gives it to Motlop, and the kick around the boundary line is good. And yet again, Travis Boak is there, a part of this Port Adelaide exit. Right on halfway, the veteran. Port by 22 points. He kicks the half forward. Andrews in front. Copped the whack from Finlayson, but still took the mark, did Harris Andrews for Brisbane at left half back. 16 and a half third term. Port 8-5-53. Brisbane 4-7-31 on Grandstand AFL.
Andrews across the 50-metre arc hits Starcevic. He wants to go further across the outer side of the field. He finds Adams in the back pocket. Right back pocket now. Adams a longer kick. Looking for McStay. He had Jonas on his hammer, and he had a shorter option in Mitch Robinson, who is telling him so. The ball was over the boundary line, and there'll be a throw in.
That's just discipline again by Port Adelaide. They know Adams is probably the weaker kick going out of the back 50 for the Lions, so close down Rich, close down Zorko, close down Brandon Starcevic, and Marcus Adams ends up with that exit kick and a stoppage.
Throw in onto the logo, McInerney v Finlayson. McInerney won it. Zorko got it. The handball was intercepted and punched forward for Port Adelaide. Rich is in the way now. He can't control it. Georgiadis slides in, takes the ball over the boundary line in front of the Brisbane Lions bench as a throw in on the outer side.
It doesn't look like Connor Rosie's going to return as well. We'll get another update from Jess at the moment. We've already seen Xavier Dersma ruled out. This is very creditable performance from Port Adelaide so far. Throw in. Zorko underneath it for Brisbane. Just shunts it along the deck. No effect. Wine has a toe poke at it. Can't really clear it either. Archie came through for Brisbane. Picked up and gave to McInerney by hand. Kicked a half forward. Is punched out of play by Mackenzie of Port. Jess, while we've got a moment, can you see Connor Rosie down there?
No, he still hasn't come back up, so it's been about 10 minutes now that he's been down in the change room, so definitely not a good sign for them.
We've had a busy night, Jess, doing a great job keeping us up to date on all of those movements on the bench. Throwing it right half forward for Brisbane. Beautiful service. McInerney taps down to Zorko. Tumbling kick under pressure to the pocket. Aaliyah toes it off the deck away from Danaher, but only to McCluggage in the pocket. Centering kicks a good kick. Bailey's underneath it and takes the mark for Brisbane 30 metres out. And the kid who covered himself in glory against Collingwood earlier last year has a very important kick in this contest to try and get one back for the Lions.
It was probably the first time the ball's been kicked in there, and Brisbane, while they didn't win the contest, they halved it. It caused a crumb and be able to get a shot or goal out of that, and that's what they hadn't been able to do the first 10 or 12 minutes of this quarter.
It seems to be getting better by the year, Zach Bailey. A big kick for his team here. Slight angle, 35 out, and he kicks the goal. Margin back to 16 points. Port Adelaide 8-5-53. Brisbane 5-7-37, Jess Stewart.
Dane Zorko just came to the bench, just a little bit ginger, taking a little bit of time to actually get off the field. He's over on his haunches, and Chris Fagan's actually standing right next to him with keen interest. Obviously would not want to lose his captain.
And, of course, had that ankle issue leading into the season.
Ankle Achilles.
Yeah.
So, it'd be interesting to see if they continue with him down at half-back or look for an injection of some speed or pace or something to break the game up in the middle of the ground.
Speaking about Lawrence Chains from half-back as well, another little point. It's the first time in the Fagan era we haven't had the ex-Hawthorn quarterback at half-back. No Grant Birchall now.
Birch is actually the runner now for the men's team. He might need to do a bit of work on his pace, getting those messages out.
Had to say, there's some feedback.
He goes all right, Grant Birchall.
That's a fair rap. As McInerney slaps it out of the ruck looking for Mitch Robinson. He couldn't quite pick the ball up, then goes again. Second effort gets it to Lyons. Now Lyons has turned it over onto the logo. The red-headed Drew for Port Adelaide chips it in forward, finds Eamon to the beautiful run of Houston. Gets inside 50, does Houston, and sprays it wide. That was a magnificent bit of link-up work, one behind 54-37.
To mix a phrase, Brisbane has a Houston problem.
Oh, yes, indeed.
He has been excellent for Port tonight. On the entry from the kick-in, Neil marks at half-back for the Lions. Kicks it to the wing, marked by Berry. Important mark. It was a 2-on-1 against him. And he decides to play on and run around Eamon on the mark. Berry's kick to half-forwards, a shocker off the instep. Marked by Lockie Jones of Port Adelaide. And another exit coming up for the Power. Chip to Butters. Butters chip to the middle of the ground for Boak, who's just running things. Hands it to Houston. Brisbane, you've got a problem. The kick from Houston to half forward, marked by Wines. 55 out. He turns, kicks to the corridor. Great late spoil there from the late arriving Answorth, but tapped it only to Drew. And Willem Drew snap from 35 is another Port Adelaide goal. And now it's a 23-point lead for the visitors. 21 and a half into the third term at 9-6-60 to 5-7-37.
Well, it's a bit of their own medicine back, Brisbane. Brisbane over the last 2 or 3 years have been super off the turnover. If you turn the ball over against Brisbane, they'll make you pay all the time going back inside 50. But tonight, every time Brisbane have either messed up their kick inside 50 or Port have won a 1-on-1, they've made them pay. And purely, as you mentioned before, Lauren, just a work rate. Once it's turned over, Port's mids and wingers and half-forwards are getting outside and running their opponents off their feet at the moment. So there's a bit of effort in this at the moment with Brisbane, more so than anything else.
Jess?
Good news for Port Adelaide. Connor Rosie is back up and he's doing some run-throughs. Looks like he's getting ready to try and go back on.
What do the Lions do to turn this around, Lauren Arnell? It's starting to get to danger territory.
Their hands on the ball.
You need to be first to the footy, and you need to get the footy to your best ball users. And Port Adelaide's taken that away from them.
And they're plus 48 in the possessions now, Port Adelaide, so they're taking a hell of a lot more of the ball than Brisbane are. They do it again here. That was clever from Butters, just popped it up. It didn't quite work out for Drew. It's just forward of the centre circles, Port Adelaide's direction. Towed inside their 50. Now Calamar Chi Dangerous handball to Adams. Adams now wants to get it out of defensive 50, looking for Lachie Neale. Neale now plays on around Byrne-Jones, looking for Charlie Cameron. He finds him 30 metres in front. Now, Charlie goes inboard. He's in two minds and then kicks it down the throat of Darcy Byrne-Jones, and that's indicative of how Charlie's been playing at the moment.
Can we also reference how good Darcy Byrne-Jones has been tonight? Like, his positioning at half-back to take those intercept marks and influence the play. 21 disposals, 7 marks, Darcy Byrne-Jones.
As a previous colleague once referred to him as the hyphen of substance, Darcy Byrne-Jones.
Gave it off to Amon. Long kick to half forward. It's towed off the deck inside 50, and Andrews is happy enough to watch it go out of play. Boundary throw in with put in attack.
As you just saw there, Q, that ball went from Brisbane's forward pocket to Port's forward pocket in a blink of an eye, and that you don't see that against Brisbane's style of play over the last 2 or 3 years, and that shows me a bit of a system breakdown, but also just an effort at gut running.
Ball to be thrown in the left forward pocket for Port. McInerney in front of Marshall, got the tap down. Ainsworth tries to rove, hassled off a possession, picked up by Lyons, hands to Neale. Under the scrimmage, he kicks it clear of defensive 50. But there he is, the hyphen of substance. Byrne-Jones there for Port. Won the ball. Little chip pass to Amon under pressure. Won the ball, though. Hands it to Houston. Another touch for him. That's a dinky kick to half forward. Wines, great gather on the half volley. Hands to Amon from 50. Hard on the boundary. Kicks it across the face, and Andrews punches it through for a point. And it's 4 goals the diff. At 9-7 to 5-7.
They played on quickly, Brisbane. 61 plays 37. Mitch Robinson accepts it on the 50, kicks it inside to the centre wicket area. McCluggage confronted, chips it up there to McCarthy. He's going to get it back here. Here comes Ainsworth, chips it inside 50. And Darcy fought. 45 metres out. He's got a player short and he honours a lead. It's McCluggage who's made his way down. 35 metres out, directly in front. And Darcy Ford found him with a pass.
That's the style of footy we've been talking about for this whole quarter, and perhaps in the second quarter as well. Lions want to exit quickly out of their back half, get the other team on the hop in defensive transition, and the work rate and spread to actually offer something forward of the ball is what we probably haven't seen throughout most of this game.
It's only possession number 10 for Hugh McCluggage, which is unusual when you consider we're late in the third quarter. He racks up the possessions normally. From 30 metres out, he leans back and he just poked at it, didn't kick through that ball. That's why it faded left and one behind. Just Stewart's on the boundary.
Unfortunately, Dane Zorko's night is over. Harry Sharp has got the jersey on, so the sub has been made and he's got ice around that left ankle/Achilles that they were working on before.
Well, that seems a very bad gamble from the Lions selection committee early in the season. Injection from Port. Adams has marked at 60 out. Brisbane to go back in. Another slewed kick. Made good by a late lunge from Bailey to take the mark centre half forward, 60 out. Yes, there was a lot of talk about Dane Zorko, whether or not he'd play tonight. Late pre-season ankle surgery. Bailey kicks it to a pack in the pocket. Link got up. No McCarthy flyer this time. Ball to deck though. Out the back, Cockatoo. Hands it off to Danaher on the snap. There's a Joe goal. He's got 2. And Brisbane narrowing the deficit to 18 points. Make it 17 from the previous behind. It's 9-7, 61 to 6-8, 44. Danaher has 2.
Well, getting the ball inside 50 hasn't been the problem. It's 12 to 11 to Port's way, so not as if it's been a dominance there. It's just been their inability to hold the ball in or win some contests, and the last couple of minutes it's gone back a bit that way, with also, as you mentioned before, Lauren, when we talk about gut running, that's just not defensively doing it, it's also offensively, and that's a bit of what's missing in Brisbane's play too. They're not working hard to get the ball flowing their way.
And while you don't want Dane Zorko injured at this point of the season or any point, you don't want your captain out. One thing Harry Sharp, as the sub, will provide is gut running. He's the best runner at the footy club.
Yeah, okay.
He'll likely play on a wing, you'd think, and he could change how this game pans out because his transition running will be better than anyone else on the ground.
He's a very fit young man, Harry Sharp. Port with the clearance though. Motlop gave it out. The chip pass was intercepted by Lockneil in front of Houston. It goes back now to Mitch Robinson. He's absolutely brutalised. That's what he did to Dusty. It was Travis Boak jumped on top of Mitch and said, "Cop this." Free kick, Travis Boak. He kicks it forward now and finds probably the bloke who's best on ground tonight is Dan Houston. Possession number 25 for him. 70 from goal. At right half forward. He measures a pass. It is delightful, but missed by Georgiadis. Got into the hands and he just dropped a bit of a pud. It was a beautiful weighted pass, and it'll be a ball up in the right forward pocket.
Just to keep a really close eye on Zork. I just wonder with Sharp on whether or not this is something that may have been preconceived, that Zorko mightn't have been able to get through a full game. Here we are late in the third. Righto, get him off and get the sub in. Anyway, Lions with the clearance for the Lions from the back pocket. But Houston's there again, marks at 60 out. Swivels and kicks to the goal mouth. Rich underneath, can't mark. Dives on it at ground level, but Finlayson farms it out on the deck, approaching Gray. Neil's got him. It's a mess of men, and the ump says mine. You know, just having a look. The skipper doesn't look all that perturbed, so get just to have a look at that. May have been a bit of a preconceived plan. So maybe Zorko's night was never going to be a full four-quarter effort. Robinson underneath the stoppage at fullback for Brisbane. Clearing kick beyond defensive 50 is marked by Lysett. It was a tumbler. Lysett one-on-one with McStay, and the big ruckman in front takes a juggling mark for Port.
Oh, yeah.
Hands it off to the cannon. McKenzie. Dropped it. 60 out. That's holding the ball. Ump let it play on. McKenzie picked it up. Burne-Jones had it, got rid of it. Lions now clears for Brisbane. Watch out, they're out. Danaher marks on the wing. One bounce at 70, second bounce at 60. Boom from 50. Long and right.
He had numbers inside.
He also did what you asked him to do at half-time, and he had a shot at goal.
Bingo. So what was the right answer?
That's a point.
I've got to say.
Port by 16. Brisbane starting to come a little here.
And Aaliyah chips it forward, barely the distance, finds Bonner.
But seriously, that's Joe as well. We just built a beautiful sandcastle on his miss. Is like the wave that just went whoosh.
So Bonner plays on. He got around Cockatoo on the mark, kicked it long towards the wing. McInerney. Starcevic was being dealt with and wanted the free kick, but McInerney's got the mark anyway. Starcevic runs backwards for the handball. McInerney's going to play on. The big O. Lays the big slipper into it onto the 50, and more or less uncontested, Mackenzie comes out and takes a very strong mark.
Oh, hold on.
Hang on, there's been a hold, and the umpire said McStay was held out of that contest. That's why Mackenzie went uncontested. So McStay gets the free kick, plays on, kicks it to the pocket. Danaher with a 2-on-1. Couldn't beat both of those guys. The ball's over the boundary line, get a throw in. Jess Stewart.
Just to answer a question before, Q, he actually did get a fair bit of work done to him, Dane Zorko, and he did look quite disappointed when that change did happen.
Okay, thanks for that. Yeah, we are all guessing, but like most things in footy, when it comes to injury, believe what you see, not what the clubs tell you. Ball thrown in the pocket. Robertson gets it to Neil. Under pressure, snaps to the goal mouth. Pitches in the goal square, and then Aaliyah says none of that. He taps it through for a point. Another behind to Brisbane. 15 points to lead to Port Adelaide. 6-10-46, trails 9-7-61. Late on in this third term on Grandstand AFL on a steamy Saturday night. First night of the season at the Gabba for these two teams, with hopes and dreams of going a bit better than the last couple of years where they've been so close and, in fact, make it three-quarter time. As the siren sounds, and Port Adelaide will turn with a 15-point lead, and that silence you hear, Port Adelaide fans, should be music to your ears at three-quarter time.
That's the quietest Gabba crowd I have heard in a long time.
They're shocked. They're nervous because their mob is behind and not playing the best of footy to start season 2022. It was Brisbane by 7 points at quarter time, Port by 4 at the half, and they've extended again in that term, kicking 4 goals, 3 to Brisbane's 2 goals, 4. 4-3 to 2-4 in the term. Three-quarter time, Port 9-7-61, Brisbane 6-10-46. Earlier today, Geelong by 64 over the Bombers, Sydney by 20 over Greater Western Sydney, and we now have our 3 winners tonight in the NRL. Earlier it was Gold Coast and Cronulla winning, and North Queensland has defeated Parramatta by the tune of 26 points. North Queensland defeating Canberra, should I say, to the tune of 26 points to 6. Force beat the Drua in the Super Rugby Pacific earlier today, and the Tars have beaten the Rebels by 24 points to 19. And we're headed for a new Premier, the 47th in South Australia, with the ALP led by Peter Malinauskas unseating the Stephen Marshall-led Liberal Party tonight. That's around the grounds. Here we've got a quarter of footy to play. In a moment, Lauren Arnell and Matt Primus will tell you how we've got here and what happens from now, with Port Adelaide on the verge of what could be deemed a minor upset if they could pull it off. Perhaps winning for the first time in a couple of years against Brisbane. They lead by 15 points at three-quarter time. Here it all unfold right here on Grandstand AFL.
ABC Sport now has its very own newsletter, and we'd be pumped to have you on board.
The ABC of Sport will provide a wrap of all the best stuff that's happening in sport every week.
Simply go to abc.net.au/connect
and get ready for a sport hit in your inbox every Friday.
Get on board with the ABC of Sport newsletter
for content that makes you think
or allows you not to.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Indiscriminate hand pass stolen by Rosie. Gave it off to Finlayson. Here's to Wines, and Wines' kick has been marked by Powell Pepper. 30 out directly in front. Sam Powell Pepper. 7 games away from the century milestone. No angle to speak of, 40 metres out. The kick is a good one, and Port Adelaide leads by 10 points. Bonner inside 50, left foot from the boundary to the goal line, and Georgiadis takes another mark. And Georgiadis is just trying to work out how he's going to execute here. Looks like he's going to go left foot snap, and he kicks the goal.
Carl Amon on the outer side, plays on quickly and sees somebody inside forward 50, and it's Stevie Motlop. He's going to come in. He's on a very, very tight angle to the left, about 45 degrees. He's going to have to start at the right goal post. He does. It curls back nicely. Stevie Motlop.
Aaliyah toes it off the deck away from Danaher, but only to McCluggage in the pocket. Centering kicks a good kick. Bailey's underneath it and takes the mark for Brisbane, 30 metres out. Seems to be getting better by the year, Zach Bailey. A big kick for his team here. Slight angle, 35 out, and he kicks the goal. Wines, 55 out. He turns, kicks to the corridor. Great late spoil there from the late arriving Answorth, but tapped it only to Drew, and Willem Drew snap from 35 is another Port Adelaide goal.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
It's been a very good couple of years for Port Adelaide, but Brisbane's been a team that they've struggled to get past. The Lions have won the last 4 encounters between these two clubs, but at the Gabba on opening night for the Power and the Lions, it's Port by 15 points. Quentin Hull and Michael Price calling the action, along with Lauren Arnell, Matthew Primus, Jess Stewart's on the boundary. We've seen Xavier Dersma subbed out with a collarbone injury, and I think he's been taken to hospital as well. So Stevie Motlop's played a lot of the game. Connor Rosie's had some issues, but he's still circulating. And Brisbane's captain, Dane Zorko, who came into the game with a cloud over an Achilles injury, has been subbed out late in that term, with Harry Sharp coming into the game. Where to from here? Matt Primus and Lauren Arnell. We really enjoyed the tight nature of the contest. First 2 quarters, Port getting some ascendancy on the scoreboard through that third term, but Brisbane perhaps pulling it back just a little late. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's been an outstanding last quarter. I thought Port, for 80% of that quarter, just dominated, winning contests in their back 50, working hard through the arcs, smart use going inside 50. They were a bit held up at times, so they waited they could kick it in there really deep, and then they made Brisbane's backs really nervous with some of their low kicks, some of their crumbing, and then they got some easy ball movement when Brisbane really dropped off for a period there. But as you said, Q, they fought back a little bit. You know, the stats are contested possession for that quarter was roughly equal. Inside 50s, I think it was 14-11 Port's way, and that was mainly the first half of that third quarter. Clearances were 10-all. So like we mentioned a fair bit, it was just their work rate from their half-backs, mids and forwards, and especially Houston, as you worked on that wing, his work rate to get back and outnumber has been super, and then he's also had quite a few inside 50s. So, I think Brisbane, the last couple of minutes when they started to try and play on a bit quicker and get some handball overlap, I reckon Fags will be talking to them about that, because all the other stuff is pretty good with their contested and clearance work.
On the way to Lauren, Houston's got 27 possession, Burns-Jones 24, Boak 24, and for Brisbane, Neal with 24, Bailey 19, Adams, Lions, Berrior with 17, and the inside 50s, Loz. Port +6 there at 44 to 38. Clearances, Brisbane still in front there, +4. Tackles, Brisbane +5, 42 to 37. Bounces underway. We'll get your thoughts in a moment. Final term, Michael Price.
McInerney slaps it forward straight off the deck from Jared Lyons, who's been conspicuously quiet. Kicks it inside 50. Beautifully read in the air, though. Trent McKenzie takes the mark about 30 metres in front of his own defensive goal. The former Gold Coast Sun, now with Port Power, chips it just towards the wing. The pocket. Finds Jonas. So they're content to hold on to the ball and keep the pace at their own, to be honest. Long kick from Jonas straight in front of the Brisbane Lions bench, and it's a quiet start. They thump it over the boundary line for another throw in.
So, Loz, what were the top of your thoughts at three-quarter time?
I think Matt nailed it. It's Port Adelaide have essentially controlled the game. Both teams have had the same amount of scoring shots, and you did mention Harry Sharp coming on. He's now on a wing against Carl Amon, and could make a difference to the Lions' offensive and defensive transition.
McInerney won the tap down at the boundary throw-in, but Butters hit the pack hard and picks up a good, tough footy for Port. Hands it to Jones, hand pass out the back to Houston. From right half back, kick to the wing, whistle on play. Gardner tangling with Georgiadis, and Gardner gets the free kick for Brisbane. And he just looks a little sore getting up, Darcy Gardner. Has received the footy on that Stanley Street side of the ground. Gardner just strolls off his mark. Now kicks with his right boot long towards half forward, and McStay gets to the front of the pack. Takes the mark 60 out. He's a big kick. This perhaps beyond him, although he'd prefer to probably lay it off. McStay does kick it to the corridor. Leading out is Cameron. Tapped it to his own advantage. Robes and snaps. The Charlie Sizzle comes up short. Just across the face for a point. Port by 14 at 61 to 47.
Because the numbers have been so even tonight, Q, the inside 50s, if Brisbane can start to win more contests, like they're able to win that crumb there and not be outmarked, if they can do that, they're going to generate enough shots on goals to be able to win this game. But if they lose it like the first one when McKenzie marked it, the game will pass them by.
Jonas with the very long kick inside the centre square. It's coming straight back off the deck from Brisbane. Beautifully picked up by Lockie Jones, and then he kicked it straight into the hands of the big man, Oscar McInerney. Now he picks the ball up. He swung around. Not only 360, it's held to him. The crowd has convinced the umpire that it will be a free kick for holding the ball. Oscar McInerney's got it. Here's Daniel Rich. Handball inside the centre square. It's peeling left. One behind. They did read it, the Port Adelaide players, and just put a little bit of pressure on him. It's now 62 plays 48, back to 14-point margin.
Last 6 scoring shots for Brisbane. 1 goal 5 though.
13 points, Q. 61 to 48. Thank you.
Houston receives in the pocket, kicks long to the wing, flying first hand there from first gamer Mead, couldn't complete the mark. Roved by Lions of Brisbane, hand pass too hot in front of McCluggage, went without it, Boat wins a hard nut. Hand pass there through the hands of the power player to Bonner. Bonner under pressure, hand pass up high, tapped down by Houston to Gray, and his kick's out of bounds on the full. So the pressure meter just getting up here for the Power.
Looks like an adjustment for Brisbane. They're pretty happy to just push the ball forward, just get it going forward, even if it's a dirty footy. Just get it going forward in this last quarter.
That one was pretty clean though, Loz. Rich from the wing, hits the lead of McCarthy, 60 out, marks, turns, kicks to full forward. Is that a mark? Yes. It's paid. It's paid to Danaher. He's 20 metres out and directly in front. If only I could paint the word pictures of the eyes and mouth and the pursed lips of Lauren Arnell and the chuckle of Matt Primus. Big moment in the game, this. We had, well, an opening of those Gabba lifters with Dan Rich getting the dish and missing. Here's another one. We had a little Charlie Cameron sizzle that didn't work. Top about to be blown off on a Lions comeback with Joe from in front. Yes, yes. That's 3. 7 points the diff. And the Lions are coming 4.5 into the final term at the Gabba.
Probably just to elaborate a little bit on what we were saying earlier, Matt, I'm sure you've noticed it as well. It looks like the instruction has been there's too much footy in Lions front half. Port Adelaide front half for the majority of this game. And for the Brisbane Lions, if it's an ugly tap forward, if it's just pushing it on, if it's a quick kick out of a clearance, get the ball in our forward 50, give us a chance to win the game.
No doubt. Exactly, that's what's happened the first 3 or 4 minutes. And as you mentioned too, Q, the pressure had gone up. Before in that third quarter, that ball would have flowed to Port's forward line, but Brisbane stopped it, turned the ball over, and then they actually won a contest in their forward 50. That's the Brisbane style of footy we're used to.
3 goals, 3 for Danaher. That was a great pack mark. And now it feels like a Gabba Saturday night with the locals coming.
Oh, they are starting to feel it and sound like it. The Gabba faithful as McInerney propels it forward, beautifully cut off by Boak. He gave it to the run of Bonner. Bonner into the middle of the ground, gave it to Drew. Drew inside 50. Oh, in the front was Rosie, spoiled. At the back, Answorth, his handball. Well, it was half spoiled. Harris Andrews helped it along. Now Sharp picks the ball up. Nice little pass, finds Neil at right half back. Bit of space now for Brisbane. McStay presents. Neil ignores that and goes longer. He was looking for the man in Rayner. Got the free kick. Ball spilled over the back to Cockatoo. They play on inside 50. Cockatoo to McCarthy. McCarthy taps it to Danaher from the goal square. Joe's got 4. And it's Port by a point. 9-7-61. The Lions 8-12-60. All of a sudden, the Gabba crowd has come alive, Lauren Arnell.
Well, it's that Brisbane style of footy. Get it quick out of your back half. Move it along. Harry Sharp, really nice kick.
That's what I was going
out
to
of
say.
the back 50.
He started, didn't he?
He did.
Work rate like Houston's done all night. As you've mentioned, his running capability, lose the centre bounce, get back, started their contest, and away they went. So great by the young kid.
And just smart, like little knock-ons. I can't remember who it was just in front of us here on the wing. A knock-on to Nakai Cockatoo. I think it was McStay. Happy to cop the hit. Cam Rayner, sorry. Rayner's copped it high. Happy for Nakai Cockatoo to get the ball forward. And to the advantage of McCarthy, Danaher sinks back. It's Lions footy and it's working for them now. Port Adelaide with the challenge. Can they go back to the 3 quarters of footy that worked for them?
3 goals, 5 unanswered in the last period for Brisbane. 8 scoring shots in a row. Port led by 4 goals late in the third term. They now lead by a point. Centre bounce, Drew shrugged off the ball. Picked up by Rayner of Brisbane. Kicks inside 50 on Danaher's chest. Aaliyah made a spoil. At the deck, Neil had a chance. Hand pass stolen by Jonas. Under pressure by Hand. Got it to Boat. Hand pass to Amon. A fumble, but he picks it up. Gets it back to Burns-Jones, and an exiting kick is good. He of plenty of hair gets it to he of none as Powell Pepper marks at left half back for Port. Kicks it infield on the 45 beyond the pack. Drew there for Port. Just hacks it off the deck to attacking 50. Adams in front. Favoured by that slewed entry. No chance for Georgiades to spoil on the ex-Bulldog Marcus Adams. Takes the mark for Brisbane on defensive 50 with Port leading by a point.
So Adams holds on to the ball, looking to go for the long option in McStay. He's got Jonas for company. Jonas did beautifully. Spoiled him to the ground, followed up with the ball and took it to the boundary line. Got dealt with a bit from young Harry Sharp too. The ball's going to get thrown in right in front of the grandstand commentary box in the Vulture Street wing. It is Port Adelaide by a point after 8 minutes of this final term. The game has just been turned up a notch. Lysett versus Darcy Fort, double-handed by Lysett, down beautifully into the path of Butters, picks it up, handball to Powell Pepper, errant. It's stolen by Darcy Gardner, in now, into Sharp. Lockneil receives, bounces it short of the wing. That's a lucky kick. It's found Cockatoo off the inside of the shoe. Cockatoo now, long one, inside 50. Danaher!
McInerney.
No, it's McInerney, same height, different without the moustache. The big O from 35 metres out, 45-degree angle to the right. The big O, he's been quiet tonight, Matthew Primus, the big ruckman. The pressure on now for this shot.
Lace it out, it's right through the middle, 6 points.
There you go. With his 9th disposal, Matthew Primus has endorsed Oscar McInerney. Yes, indeed.
Point.
It's a point. That was a very good kick, though. So scores are level. 61 apiece, 9.5 gone, final term. We've got a game on our hands here at the Gabba.
9 scores in a row for Brisbane. Just Stewart on the boundary.
Just amongst all that, Dane Zorko's turned into drink boy for his team and is handing out drinks to the players coming off to the bench.
Right. Bonner runs beyond the square, kicks the half back very wide. Amon gathers and is tackled over the boundary line by Sharp. Throwing it right half forward for Brisbane, left half back for the Power. This looks a different football game right now than what we were seeing only 20 minutes ago. Port leading by 4 goals late in the third term, but the Lions have now got it back to all square. Ball thrown in, winds underneath for Port. Hand pass to the back of the stoppage. Amon gathers his hand pass too hot for Gray, threw his fingers out of play.
It's amazing, Q. I like to call it scoreboard nourishment. When you get a bit of nourishment off the scoreboard by your hard work, your energy lifts, your mindset lifts, and Brisbane weren't getting that, but the last 10 minutes they've got that. Now they look the fitter team, the stronger team in the contest at the moment.
And the atmosphere, of course, building here at the Brisbane Cricket Ground for the locals. Throw in. Finlayson and Ruck got rid of Fort. Tapped it down. Pal Pepper farms it out. Got legged in doing so. So he'll get a free kick. And Port's a chance to set up here at left half back, having just been rumbled around a bit in the last 20 minutes of this game. Scores level. Pal Pepper from left half back kicks Port to half forward. Andrews nudges Marshall under the ball. Couldn't take the mark. Ground level. Beautiful roving from Ainsworth. Hands it to Cockatoo. Great tackle, Robbie Gray. No prior. Ball up.
That's a senior player in Robbie Gray, understanding what's required. Come up a little bit higher, apply defensive pressure. Just try and equalise the contest.
Great tackle. Now the ball up. Darcy Fort gets it down to Cockatoo. Has to tow it off the deck now. Winds. Just barrels through. He met Mitch Robinson. Boy, that was a contest. There's a free kick now. It's going to be to Cam Rayner. Held without the ball. He's going to be taking that right on the Vulture Street wing. Dangerous kick. Looking in the corridor on the logo. Found Brandon Starcevich. He's got a runner. It's Archie. Oh, it's between Archie and Adams. Port Adelaide have conspired to get between them. Butters now to the outer wing. He finds Mead. Gets it inboard. Misses the target. The ball's in dispute on the deck on the outer wing. Wines comes in. Now McStay. He picks the up, gives it to Archie, chips it inside 50. Charlie Cameron spoiled by McKenzie. Roving the big O. He's spoiled. Ball over the boundary line. And we'll get a throw in as a Port player is down, and that's Trent McKenzie. He's not moving. It looks like a left knee, Q.
That cannon left leg looks in serious trouble.
There's a replay going on the screen. He did the big leap.
And
hyperextended.
Yeah, just it was at full stretch when it landed. The crowd oohing and ahhing watching that replay for the fallen Trent McKenzie. And they're calling for the stretcher. So we're going to have a delay here. It's such a telling point of this game. 12 and a half minutes played final term, locked at 61. And Trent McKenzie, who took a couple of years to become a permanent fixture in the Port Adelaide team after moving from Gold Coast, has been really good in the last couple. Played most of the last 2 years. And now his left leg is requiring significant attention as the Gabba, Jess Stewart, seems like it's just had a bit of the oxygen taken from it.
Yeah, it's really silent down here. The doctors for Port Adelaide have just come straight to the bench and grabbed the stretcher, as you mentioned. So not a great outcome at all for Trent McKenzie.
Interesting. It wasn't that ACL type of movement. His leg was basically just straight when it hit the ground.
Yes, and just bends back that little bit the way it shouldn't, and without any prognosis at all, but that movement that can put a fair bit of stress through your ACL there. So
yeah, and
to clutch it immediately, normally you feel that sickening feeling.
And he landed from quite a height as well.
Yeah,
with straight. So,
but generally, if you've done the full ACL, you can get up and walk after the initial pain. He can't move it at the moment, so I don't know. We're just again trying to assess from what we can see, but he's being put on the stretcher as Trent McKenzie, and Port's already used its sub. Xavier Dersma's out of the game as well. By the way, Jess, any further news? You said he might have been going to hospital to have a look at that.
No further news. I did speak to Port Adelaide's media manager, and they did say to me they thought he was going off to hospital, and we've not seen him on the bench up here. So you would have assumed that he was staying around the stadium, he probably would have been sitting on the bench here. So I would likely assume that he has gone off to hospital based off that information. Just on the McKenzie incident, when he did hurt himself, he immediately went to hold his left knee, and sometimes that can be an indication of dislocations, things like that. So I just noticed that he did kind of want to hold it still at first.
Well, he's on the Medicab now and is being driven from the Gabba with 12 minutes of playing time
Boundary when you get a chance.
left in the game. Yeah, back to you.
The ambulance, two ambulance officers are just walking past me, so they're obviously going to go straight and meet him when he goes down to the Port Adelaide rooms.
Oh, quite the toll paid by both teams tonight. Dane Zorko unable to complete the game, subbed out in the third quarter as well, although it doesn't look... well, we're not sure. There could be a sense of tactical nature about that, seeing that he came in a little underdone with the ankle. And Harry Sharp's dash off half-back has been important.
Well, it has been, and this is probably the last thing Brisbane actually need here. Take away the injury from Trent. Hopefully he's all good, but Brisbane were all over Port Adelaide, and Port Adelaide didn't have anywhere to breathe. So this little spell here, see if they get to reset themselves and see what they can do about this onslaught from Brisbane at the moment, where they are all over them in every facet of the game.
So hopefully he is okay. 29 years of age now, Trent McKenzie, one of the Access priority group in the Gold Coast all of those years ago, but now being carried down the race. And we will see a resumption with a score check here. Port Adelaide 9-7-61, Brisbane 8 goals 13-61.
I think the further delay in the game is the little cab car that drives the stretcher to the other side of the bench has to get to the other side of the ground again to exit the playing surface. So another delay in game, and as you said, Matt, it could be an advantage for Port Adelaide at this point just to reset, regather and have some strong leaders, direct some instruction around just balancing the game, going back to what's worked for them in the first three quarters.
So the Medicab has just got to... I still call it Kev's Tunnel, even though Kevin Mitchell has retired a couple of years now. But just underneath the scoreboard at the western end, if you watch the cricket here, you see that's where the covers are positioned. Crowd's giving it to the driver to make sure the reverse is of fine nature, and it is. So, 12 minutes left in the game. Play restarts, scores level, throwing in the forward line for Brisbane. McStay taps down. Cameron gets a hand pass to Lyons. Snap to the goal mouth. Bounces across the face of goal and Aaliyah meets it for Port. Clearing kick to an important one-on-one. Motlop nudged underneath it by Archie. Taps it to Robinson. Takes contact. Dived as if he was pushed in the back. Umpire agrees. Free kick to Robbo. Hands it to Rayner. Kicks inside 50. Aaliyah gets to the drop. Can't take the mark. Picked up by the Lions. McCarthy tackled. Hand pass goes straight to Lockie Jones of Port. Clearing kick back to the wing. Gardner flies the pack. Had a piece, couldn't mark. Robinson there picks up and hacks a 20-metre handball forward for Brisbane. McCluggage gathers near the boundary. 55 out. Hand pass inboard. Turned over. Butters has got it for Port. Gives it to Houston.
Houston chips it forward. Marshall in front of Mitch Robinson. Now he chips it forward. Just short of centre wing. Vulture Street side. Motlop, the medical sub. Now he holds it up. He's got Harris Andrews on the mark. Drews.
He had to then, nothing forward of the ball, so he had to wait till his forwards could get back down there to make a contest for him.
Yeah, Marshall had to make his way down there as well. Rosie. He kicks it in the Marshall direction through his hands. Rove by Bailey for Brisbane at right half back. Handball to Marcus Adams. Chips it towards the wing. And just inside the line. Just inside the line. Mitch Robinson. Well, there you go. I thought that was coming out of bounds on the full. Right in front of us. Literally right in front of us. Seeing a replay, and he's a fortunate man. Mitch Robinson. A long kick towards right half forward. Cockatoo's got to go. Punched away from him. Houston again. Prolific game. Possession number 31. It's half smothered though. Rayner at half forward. Sat on by Pal Pepper. And there'll be a ball up 55 out right on the point of the centre square.
Matty, just there, Dan Houston wins the ball. Previous parts of the game, there's options running for him. A lot of Port players not moving.
Yeah, nothing on for him.
Around the ball. McCarthy's hand pass from the stoppage. Locke Jones comes out, gets tackled. It's on attacking 50 for Brisbane on the deck. Umps watching. Mead has a go. Gets a hand pass clear but can't create a passage for Burton. And it's going to be for Houston. It's going to be a ball up.
Not only that, Q, there's no options to go to, and the pressure on the ball carrier is immense.
Fort with a tap down. kicked off the ground though by Drew, a put to the middle of the ground, but Archie wins it for Brisbane. Hands to Answorth, he had a go, hand pass got clear. Motlop steals it though for Port. Hands it to Gray, they're out the back. Hands it to Drew, 50 out, runs to 45, he's mucked up the kick. Oh, went to Marcus Adams, he dropped the put in the goal mouth. Starcevic arrives to help, he's tackled, and the ump's going to ball it up.
Oh, boy.
Which was the worst of the 6 mistakes in that passage downfield.
And the pressure does some amazing things when you've got to make those split seconds decisions, Q. Throw up at the top of the centre, top of the goal square for Port Adelaide. Powell Pepper diving in on the top of him. Darcy Gardner, ball stuck underneath the pair. In there, Noah Answorth as well. And in the left forward pocket will be a ball up. Some tired bodies being pulled up out of that contest. Umpire throws it up. Slapped down by Marshall. He follows up next to the boundary line. Jared Berry tracks it over the line. So we'll get a throw in 35 metres from the goal. Left forward pocket. Scores a level. 21 gone. Final term.
Port led by 4 goals. Late in the third term, Brisbane has scored the last 3 goals, 6. To square it up. Fought with the tap down McCluggage, the Rove and exit. With a kick to half back, which pitches and rolls out of play. Ump gives deliberate, or not intentionally keeping it in. Finlayson with the free kick for Port, 70 out. Kicks in field to Bonner. Not much closer to goal. McCluggage stands the mark about 60 out. Bonner runs on. Uses his left boot to kick it on top of the Flyers at the top of the goal square. Knuckled to Deck. Who's the rover? It's Bailey for Brisbane. Hands it to Answorth. Hands it to Berry. They burst down the corridor. Berry kicks a tumbler to no one but Aliir. Oh, he was there and he lost his footing. He dropped the ball. Picked up coming through Cockatoo. He just gathers it. Gets under a high shot. Free kick Brisbane. They've taken the advantage. McCarthy kicks the goal and the Lions are in front. Aliir became, oh dear. Running backwards, lost his footing, lost the footy, and Port loses the lead. Brisbane now 4 goals, 6 unanswered. 9-13-67 leads 9-7-61.
I actually really feel for Aliir. He'd done all the right things. He'd smartly dropped back and covered that longer kick, but it was also a very smart kick by Jared Berry just to put Aliir in an uncomfortable position, challenge him and get it as long as he possibly could. And a really smart finish by the Lions small forwards.
Great finish, which they hadn't been able to do so far tonight, but there's a bit of fatigue coming in too. There's a simple chest mark there. I think Adams dropped a simple one before, so there's a bit of fatigue. So whichever team can keep their nous here and keep their nose over the ball is going to win this game.
Been a tremendously warm day in Brisbane, 31 odd degrees, very warm indeed and humid. Conditions are perfect for footy here though. Aim and slips. That's a throw over the head. Was paid as a throw earlier, so he has to do it again now. Good consistent umpiring. Lockneil now at the point of the centre square at right half back. Chips wide to Robinson. Robinson forward to McCluggage, pressed by Drew, who looks like he might have injured himself as well. Houston leaps onto that loose ball. Handball back to Eamon, a wobbling floater inside 50. It gives the Brisbane defenders a chance. Andrews paddles it forward. Answorth was monstered. He let loose the ball. There was a clash with him and Carl Eamon. The ball went forward for Brisbane though. McCarthy has a bounce, leaves it behind. It's got everything this game at the moment. McCarthy gathers, a smother by Byrne-Jones. McCarthy's going to get it back again. Chips it forward. That right half forward finds McStay.
Numbers everywhere forward.
55 out, long kick to the goal square. Big fly, big O, top of the goal square, and Brisbane will have a shot at goal. How about the repeat efforts from the likes of Link McCarthy there and the Port Adelaide players? They're all out on their feet in the pathway to that ball. They lead by 6 points with 7 to go, and the Big O rests the ball on the ground while he has a breath. Picks it back up now. From point-blank range, Oscar McInerney kicks the goal and puts the Lions 2 in front. 10-13-73. plays 9-7-61, and we've played 24 and a half minutes of the final term.
Sometimes we can overcomplicate the game, and as we spoke about the first three quarters, Port just won more one-on-one contests, or they outnumbered a lot better than Brisbane, but that passage of play was just Brisbane either outnumbering and winning the contest or winning one-on-ones from their back line through to the wing, through their forward 50. That's all it was just basically winning the contest, and eventually now the game swung back into their momentum.
And as the game's gone on, Noah Answorth, who we probably haven't talked anywhere near as much about him as Cam Rayner, but Answorth missed all of last year with a hectic groin injury that's just been so hard for him to overcome. And him winning one-on-ones, particularly in this late in the third and through this last quarter defensively, has made a real difference to the Brisbane backline.
11 scores unanswered for Brisbane after they trailed by 4 goals late in the third term. And now a 2-goal buffer with 6 minutes 40 on the clock. Centre bounce towed off the deck by McInerney for Brisbane. Coming out to meet it, McStay, no effective hand pass. Picked up by Powell Pepper, slung and dispossessed, but goes to Jones of Port from the wing. Kicks out towards the half-forward flank. It bounces out of play, and the umpire says throw it in. Crowd wanted a free kick for Brisbane, but not forthcoming. Well, the Lions, they're doing a blues here. The Carlton finish against Richmond. They kicked 7 goals. Brisbane with 5-6 unanswered here. Here's a chance for Boak to break it though. Gets the stoppage clearance from 60, kicks to the goal mouth. Powell Pepper a chance. Kick is smothered off the boot by a desperate Jared Berry. Picked up by Gardner. Clearing kick turned over though. Houston marks it forward of the bullseye. Kick and a half from goal in the corridor. Chips it short. Marked by Drew, edge of the centre square. Gives it back to Houston. Houston has to run around the half-forward line, and now from 55 goes banger. Oh, he's kicked it. He has kicked it. Dan Houston's had a huge night. He's put Port back in the contest with that Boomerby on the arc. There's the answer the Power's been waiting for. With 6 minutes to play, a kick the diff. Brisbane in front, 73-67.
He's been enormous tonight, and Lockie Neal has lifted after half-time. He's had 17 possessions so far in the second half, but Houston has been consistent throughout the game there, and what a finish that was. With his legs would be heavy, the amount of work he's done tonight on him.
It's hard to find a more influential player on the ground than Dan Houston. 2 goals, 34 disposals and 16 pressure acts. He's been enormous, and you just look around and wonder, how did the Lions forwards allow him to find that much space? It's Daniel Rich-esque, finding space out the back, and we know how good he is of a kick, and just having such an impact on the game, and important and timely now. They're within arm's reach.
And he's generated 9 inside 50s on his own, Dan Houston. One-man wrecking ball tonight. Umpire's going to recall that bounce because it disadvantaged Scott Lycett. McInerney with the easy run, so it'll come back.
679 metres gained from Houston's 34 disposals.
It's not bad at all. Dan Houston, what a game. McInerney tapped it down to himself, then towed it inside 50. Oh, Charlie Cameron, he didn't. He stole that. He's going to get paid. Now, that was a contested mark between Charlie Cameron and Burton, and I would venture to say that Burton is saying, listen, I got at least 2 hands to that.
How can 3 sets of eyes get that wrong?
We're going to have a quick look at the replay here. You can't see it, but that's got at least 2 sets of hands on it. Burton's a little stiff. Charlie Cameron will have a shot 40 metres out, more or less directly in front. Did not look like missing. Did not look like missing. The Lions get their 11th goal back out to a 2-goal lead, 11-13-79, plays 10-7-67. Nearly 29 minutes gone to the final term. Charlie Cameron. Oh, hang on.
Hold on. Stunned silence.
Take me home, country road.
What are they, across town at the Reds? They play this at the end of Reds games at the rugby.
Yeah. That's a miss, guys. The Brisbane Lions music fraternity. It's been owned and operated by the Queensland Reds for several years, that song, so...
Pinched it.
Get off.
Okay. 2 goals the diff. Is there a way back for Port here, Lauren or Matt? We've still got 5 minutes of playing time.
Oh, no, I like Brisbane's energy at the moment. They just look above it, and that mark was probably paid there. I think you could have argued both guys touched at the start, so not a bad call from the umpire.
Centre bounce. McCluggage comes through, can't pick up. It's locked in there, and they'll go again. Yeah, I saw the social team from the Lions saying something. Oh, there's a new song for Charlie. I mean, who cares?
I was looking forward to seeing what song it was. I'm a bit disappointed that isn't what it was.
Pal Pepper with a hand pass to Boat. Clearance for Port. Desperate entry in here for the visitors. Butters is over it. Couldn't control it. Fumbled it out of play. And a boundary throw-in is the result in the right forward pocket. With 30 minutes to lapse, but it's a long quarter because Trent McKenzie's been medicapped off with a leg injury. 4 minutes and 41 seconds still left. Brisbane lead by 2 goals. Port in the right forward pocket. Brisbane the left back pocket. Throw in. Fort taps down but straight to Butters. Tackled by Ainsworth. Ball comes free. Picked up by Archie. He's tackled and hand passes it out. That's deliberate. Crowd may hoot. And it's going to be a free kick to Port in Robbie Gray's spot. But Robbie Gray hasn't got it. It's Sam Powell-Pepper. Does he go for goal or does he look for an option? Sam Powell-Pepper, hard on the boundary, 40 out in the right forward pocket. He is putting it across the face of goal, I think, for a flyer. It stays in the opposite pocket. Picked up by Marshall. His snap is punched through for a point. Another near miss for Marshall on this evening, should we say?
Well done by Marshall, though. He was 1v3 against the Lions tools on the goal line. To even get a shot at goal there is impressive.
Lions by 11 points. 4 minutes and 20 seconds left.
So ball in hand, inside defensive 50. It's with the Brownlow medalist, Lockneil. Long kick towards the outer side, over the head of the pack. It's going to rattle towards the boundary line. Jonas will just cut it off. He's tackled by McCarthy, gets the handball away to Bonner. Bonner now scoots it forward, but it's cut off by Kalarchi at half-back. He's content to hold on to the ball. He's right against the fence, and he goes long down the Stanley Street wing. Big pack of players, off hands, straight through to the bench, and it'll be a throw-in front of the Port Power bench. They're trailing by 11 points. 32 minutes gone in this final term, which was extended due to the injury to Trent McKenzie.
Beaten most comers of recent times, Port, except Brisbane. They won 4 in a row against them. From the tap down, the 233s go at it. Bailey had it, Burne-Jones had him. Bailey gets a hand pass free, stolen by Powell-Pepper. At half-back for Port, hands it to Wines. The Brownlow medalist kick around the wing is marked by first gamer Mead. Port have got to get moving. There's 3.5 to go. They trail by 11 points. Mead with his right boot. Kicks to attacking 50. Finlayson first hand. Can't take the mark. On the deck, Great Rove Adams of Brisbane. Hand pass to Ainsworth. Kick smothered into the hands of Motlop. It goes for Port. He gives it to Butters. Back to Motlop. Then to Boat. Chips to the goal mouth. Marshall the target. Spoiled from Andrews. Roving is sharp. Gets away from Marshall. Hand pass to McCarthy. Hand pass to Andrews. He's at half-back and the Lions are out.
Chips it into the path of Charlie Cameron and has the ball spoiled away from him by Ryan Burton over the boundary line. And a frantic bit of play.
We've mentioned him a few times, but Harry Sharp's contribution in this last quarter as the medical sub has been enormous. He's playing against Carl Amon. Amon's starting to cramp and Harry Sharp's everywhere.
He's got some toe too, does young Harry Sharp. Burne-Jones gathers from the boundary throw in. Kicks it inside 50. Spoiled by Harris Andrews. Front and centre was Daniel Rich. Ended up giving it to Ainsworth. The handball goes back to Starcevic. He hooks it around the body, but Travis Boak's going to cut it off. 70 from goal. He goes straight across the field. Point of the centre square. Houston unloads. Let's go with the right foot. It's a beautiful kick. It hits the post. It had the distance. Another behind to the Port total. 79 plays 69. It's 10 points in favour of the Lions. Just Stewart's on the boundary.
Jared Berry's come to the bench in a bit of discomfort on his right shoulder. He's talking to the doctors now as we speak, but he was in a bit of discomfort as he came to the bench.
Rich chip short to Andrews. Marks uncontested, still inside defensive 50. And Brisbane realises they hold the whip hand here.
Port have to equalise here. They've got the spare back. Brisbane will just chip it around if Port don't try and man it up.
Andrews on to Sharp to Bailey. Chip mark, Brisbane to right half back. Bailey wide, Sharp's there, takes the grab. It's Answorth who was the earlier chain. They look similar of hairdo, and then here they are, combining again. Sharp chips it to Answorth. Good story of he as well, back for the first time since 2020. Chips in field, marks to Starcevic. They've sucked valuable time and still have held the footy. Starcevic entry inside 50. Half volley in front of Cameron, can't control. Picked up by Wines near the pocket, couldn't keep it in. Out of play. And that might just be enough with 90 seconds to play. Brisbane leading by 10 points here at the Gabba on Grandstand AFL this long final term as far as time elapsed because of the injury to Trent McKenzie.
Throw in across the 50-metre arc at right half forward for Brisbane. Short throw in. Ruckman landed at their feet. Boak and Motlop tackled. It was Boak in there. Now, what's the free kick for? McCarthy's coming up with the ball. It was a push in the back. So he's copped a nudge and it was in the back. Travis Boak involved there. So Link McCarthy's going to have a shot at goal. He's just ambling back. He'll have to let go from just outside 50, 45-degree angle though.
These are the little free kicks that Port were winning in the first half and a bit. They were getting first to the footy, and just as the game's worn on, and particularly in this last quarter, Lions' ability to get first and win contested possessions made a marked difference on this game.
2 goals, 1 to Link McCarthy today. This is his 14th disposal. A couple of marks involved. 6 tackles, which has been a great contribution. Skips in. He's pulled this one to the left. Violently, in fact. 1 behind. So Lions move to 11-14-80. Port 10-9, 69. 11 points the margin as they bring it back in quickly.
The time will beat Port Adelaide. Houston's been huge. Takes the mark on defensive 50. Kicks to the middle of the ground through the hands of Marshall. But there's a free kick in that pack. And it's going to Brisbane's Andrews. Well, heartbreak when they left the Gabba late last year, Lions fans, after a 1-point loss in a cutthroat final to the Bulldogs. It didn't look good when they were 4 goals down to Port in the third term here. But it's been a very good surge from the locals at the back end of the game. And the Lions will defend their home deck week 1 of 2022. Meritorious victory from Fagan's boys over the beaten preliminary finalists of the last 2 years. Port still can't get past Brisbane. 5 in a row for the Lions against the Power. Brisbane win it by 11 points. Pretty handy contest between two teams that we expect to have a fair say in the narrative of just who gets to the flag in 2022. Brisbane leading by 7 points at quarter time, Port by 4 at half time. And they got out to that 24-point lead late in the third term. Brisbane got one late, and it was a 15-point margin in favour of Port Adelaide at three-quarter time. But Brisbane kicked 5 goals to 1 in the final quarter to run out 11-point victors, 11-14-80 to Port's 10-9-69. Joe Danaher put on a show up front. Just 11 disposals, but 4 goals, 3. Boy, there were some highlights among it. 2 goals for McCarthy, 2 goals for first-time Lion Darcy Fort, and singles for Bailey, McInerney and Cameron. While for Port Adelaide, Dan Houston, 36 disposals and 2 goals too. Single goals also to Rosie, Georgiades, Amon, Palpepper, Marshall, Drew, Boak and Motlop. 5 in a row for Brisbane over Port Adelaide. Stick around, we'll wrap up not only this game but the entire day of footy, which has seen Geelong and Sydney also pick up opening round victories. But let's reflect a little here. Lauren Arnell and Matt Primus to break it down for you. The Lions hitting the line hard and getting the points.
Well, it was really in the end for Brisbane. It was that last quarter was just encompasses how Brisbane want to play. They won't contest the possession by +11. They shared the ball around to slow the ball down in their back half. They had +9 in their marks, +4 inside 50s, and over 400 metres gained more than what Port Adelaide did. So, for one quarter to be able to just hang in the game, not playing their best footy. I thought their defenders were pretty good. Port probably missed a Charlie Dixon type big key forward up there for them. But great, I reckon, for Fags and the coaching staff will say, we didn't play our best footy for 3 quarters. We found a way to hang in. And we also butchered some opportunities going forward, as we mentioned throughout a call. But when we get our game style going, and sometimes you don't always get it on your terms. And Port Adelaide, to their credit, were too good for Brisbane for a period in that third quarter and a little bit in the second. But they hung tough and then were able to believe in themselves, get their game plan going and win a lot of one-on-one contests in that last quarter. Fatigue came in. They looked a fresher team by the end of it. And, a really great win to start the year off on a really good note. And heading, like you mentioned, Q, both teams wanting to play finals. Well, not the greatest brand of football for them for 4 quarters, but to be able to hang in there tough and find a way to win was terrific.
And I think for Port Adelaide supporters listening in, I think as much as the game was in their favour for 3 quarters, really, and they're really not far away from getting that win at the Gabba. Now it's 5 in a row they've lost to the Lions, and they continually need to play this fixture up here in Brisbane. They were so close, and I think, as you mentioned, that fatigue, Mackenzie and Dersma out